Chapter 1 The Journey 2nd Starry River. Beta Star by Chi Star, Autumn. Outside the interstellar airport, a light drizzle fell like cascade of red pearls. A solitary figure, shrouded in a semi-weapon of her coat, raised a hand to adjust it, lifting their gazette at the airport entrance before turning around. Overwhelmed with emotion, To looked back at the myriad of flights sans sighed softly. Once upon a time, you arrived in this unfamiliar world all alone, finally finding a warm and no stem bark in my life's journey once Marie, solitary. Sigh people often speak of teflating beauty of life, yearning to witness the splendor of twirled, yet what truly understands the myriad of life's frustrations. It can be quite exasperating. At that moment, the airport's announcement system suddenly resonated with a sweet voice. Dear passengers, the T-103 interstellar flight o autumn stares about to take off. Please proceed to the boarding gate. Upon hearing the announcement, the figure hesitated momentarily, then swiftly lifted their overcoat. I out with jet black hair and sharp eyes smirched, sprinting towards the airport entrance. Make way. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Several passengers she overtook immediately erupted with curses. Ariel rushing to reincarnate. Two security guards sign uniforms sat the airport entrance, seeing the rushing out, exchange edge land season dashed forward. On off Tem grabbed the youth's clothing. Yet, the youth struggled fire solid to break free. Sir, you haven't gone through security yet. Security? Miss Spaceship he's about to leave. No way, you can't go through must undergo security checks. That was security guards firmly held onto the youth, glaring at them. Fine, security check, you understand. The youth quickly fished out the ID card for Miss Bakit and tossed a disc case and the nearby scanning machine. Asher shed through it he security gate. That display board recognized it as identity. Shen Ye, male, 18 years old. Is it deny it? That spaceship he's about to take off. Shen Ye urged anxiously. Your surname Chit. Ario from Shen family? The security guard, glancing at the displayed information, asked hesitantly. Isn't that obvious? Isn't it clear lie state on the information? Hurry up. I'm running out of time. Shen Ye was nearly frantic, practically bounced in Jin place. Let's go, let's hurry, Illy help Io with our suitcase. The security guard quickly grabbed Shen Ye's suitcase, and they both dashed inside. Amidst the killy rain, a luxurious interstellar spaceship began its pre-launch preparations. Inside T-103 interstellar flight's first-class cabin, a disheveled figure ushered in, panting heavily. Damn, I almost missed it. Luckily, I just in Thenikof time. Shen Yezelently rejoiced. Hequiklilo Katetsi Te-1, a pleasant spot beneath window. Hitasa suitcase into the storage area beside Dethisia Tamplaped down, leaning back against the Seat, breathing gasigo for relief. And utterly exhausted. At that moment, a flight attendant in a crimson uniform, strikingly beautiful, caught up to Shen Ye and crushed Besademum. Mr. Shen, there's no need to rush it into Van have a Timito El Pio with our suitcase. This flight will definitely wait for you to board before taking off. Upon hearing this, Shen Ye was momentarily dumbfounded. Was this stroll the level of service he was receiving? Have found it hard to believe, viewed upon reflection, it seemed plausible, as this sticketways arranged be his family. Mr. Shen, Yamayo your dedicated stewardess for this journey. Allow me to cover ya with a blanket the temperature I squitekol. Nund, I can manage myself. You go attend to it ease. Shen Ye Vedishand, smiling declining he was still somewhat unaccustomed to such treatment. Should you require yanning, please press T button beside you, and I will be to your service. Alright. Shen Ye noted slightly in response. One set half-light attendant departed. Shen Ye adjusted his seat back, reclined, covered himself with the blanket, and slowly closed his eyes, gradually sinking into reminiscence. In his previous life, Shen Ye had lived a mundane existence, Kupadu Pina's malapartment. Surviving gone major freelance earnings, he waited death, having accomplished nothing by his 30s, no even a spouse. Initially, hate hati could continue thighs way, and in truth, it was somewhat acceptable. Until enough at feel of evening, Shen Ye read the convenience store downstairs, when a booming voice called out to him. Shen Ye, have a box off discounted instant noodles in promotion. Notably a step or slow, but Harris also a lottery. Wanatry. Shen Ye lifted a shed, looking listless lie at the convenience store owner. Arethi about to expire. Haha no. The factory just out down, and we're having Gakuyer and ale. Really? Then I'll take a box. Shen Ye reluctantly handed over the last chunderdayu tea for Miss Baketo the owner. Thing. The convenience store quickly handed Shen Ye box of instant noodle Sandra turna this change, final appalling gutal lottery box and offer in him. Goon, trier luck. Shen Ye didn't hold much he here to Dean and randomly drwatiket. Taking good a coin for Miss Bucket, he began to scratch it. The words thank you appeared first. Shen Ye sighed in resignation. In new I wolden thavesick. Don't bet a shartened young man. Keep it tidy and never know when fortuna might smile upon you. Wantoto try for box. The story honor flashed a bright smile, his enthusiasm infectious. Forget it, I can finish them. Shen Ye had intended to discard the lottery ticket but inexplicably felt compelled to scratch off their remaining part. Winner. Thank you for winning. Shen Ye was momentarily stunned, then his expression transformed into an ecstatic joy. Fortuna had indeed smiled upon him. Boss, I won. Ash spoke. Shen Ye handed that ticket to the owner. The owner glanced at the ticket and, with a hearty laugh, clapped Shen Ye on the shoulder. Congratulations. You've won the grand prize. Really? Am I a bit strike-heitrich? What's the prize? Shen Ye inquired with eager anticipation. Movie tickets. The convenience store replied with a grin. Shen Ye's smile froze, his face falling, akin to a deflated balloon. Ashes said listlessly, "I'll pass." Win it. Go and seat. I'm not interested in need Tajit back to my writing. That's where you're mistaken. Look at you, always scooped up, never to own. This size of fantastic opportunity. At the cinema, you could meet beautiful women and have a to connect. Change is essential. The story honor impartethis wisdom with a knowing smile. Fine. Shen Ye pondered briefly, realizing Thurasama truth toit, and extended a hand. No you're talking. Harris Yermo Vidakit. With that, the convenience store owner placed a stack of movie tickets directly into Shen Ye's hands. After accepting the tickets, Shen Ye at the store. Just a chariot at the door, hesitantly paused, staring at the tickets in hand, astonished. So many. A private screening? Where on earth will find women aid a private test screening? Shen Ye approached the retraction, intending to discard the tickets casually. But Henna hesitated, thinking it would be too wasteful to throw them away. Forget it, in my test will check out Hisanima. I'll see if I can negotiate with the Sanim owner to exchange some for different dates for future use. He completed worth the Chronicles of Hyperionasia Star Pathis available Fort Hosey interest thank you. PS a new book mission off starring is available Fort Hosey interest thank you. Chapter 2 Arrival Before long, Shen Ye stood before an old, dilapidated building, lifting iskazita the crumbling kima. Looking down at the movie tickets in his hand, has suddenly felt disillusioned. Evergreen cinema? Now under this nama sounds so familiar it's to cinema. Shen Ye murmured with a hint of nostalgia, recalling that his mother had once brought him here as a child. Back then, I'd wash bustling with activity how I'd have thought it would fall into such disrepair na. But since was already her, Shen Ye didn't dwell any tan step it inside. The lullaby was dimly lit, with only a single light bulb illuminating the space, making it seem like they were economizing in electricity in a rather absurd manner. But where was everyone? Shen Ye looked around, but there was not a soul in sight, no even beneath that etiquette counter. Good grief, I say close down? I say Niana here. Is there anyone? Stop shouting, I'm here. An elderly man, nearly toothless, emerged from beneath the etiquette counter. Lucan Gazthoff had just awakened from sleep. Hello, sir. I'm here to watch a movie. Shen Ye approached and hurriedly handed over his movie tickets. The old man glanced at them, his expression dull. Hall 1, just going. Sir, I have some ticket scan when negatia tefarafi long-term tickets. Shen Ye boldly suggested. Long-term tickets. You might as well save your breath. This cinemas closing down tomorrow. You're just lucky to catch the last show today. The old man appraised Shen Ye from head to toe. No way. Shen Ye's beset with and cheap deals off 10 come with Apris. Hedernto head towards Hall 1 when suddenly heard the old man's voice behind him. Wait. Shen Ye halted, looking back at the old man. What is it? Would I occur for some popcorn? The elderly gentleman gazed at Shen Ye with a hint of anticipation, pondering the possibility of selling a portion before the establishment's closure. thereby earning galitly extra. No need for that, a haven stant noodles, Shen Ye replied, lifting the box off noodles and hishened. Alas! What misfortune! The old man shukashadan prepared decline. At that moment, Shen Ye sudden lyra callets a mething and inquired, could you possibly provide us some hot water for me to prepare the noodles? There is say kettle near be help by ourself, Theodore retorted curtly. Thank you. Shen Ye expressed his gratitude hurriedly. With Thebagof instant noodles filled with a twater in hand, he made his way toward Theodore 1. Ash departed, he turned back to call out to the old man, Sir, please keep handy on thought box of instant noodles in the counter form. On denture thought Nina takes it. Got it. Asafanion wold wanchers, cometh grumpy reply. Before long, Shen Ye entered Theater 1, which was empty and desolate, and the projection screen flickered to life. The grand title appeared the 800th. What kind of movie is this? Seated in the front row, Shen Ye won his noodles while watching the film. Soon, the movie commenced, accompanied by stirring music. As she savored his noodles, he became engrossed in the fervent film method being adjacents had properly watched a movie. The intensive bottles and the impassioned narrative on the screen reignited Shen Ye's long-dormant fervor. The film continued until midnight. After the conclusion, Shen Ye exited the cinema, holding his box of noodles, brimming with enthusiasm. Hefel Tassi Fehedra turned to Theas of 18, rekindling his confidence in life. With a renewed sense of vitality, he resolved to strive diligent life round hat day forth. Thus, he jogged home with the box of instant noodles, considering it the first Panano found commitment to physical fitness. Ash ran, Shen Ye aboard the spaceship was suddenly jolted awake, sitting up abruptly, his forehead slick with cold sweat. Damn it. I ran all the him like these, only to collapse from exhaustion and close in my eyes, never to awake again. When he finally opened his eyes, he found himself in this world. Fortuitously, fate had not been unkind in this life, he reincarnate into a prosperous family, known as Shen clan. The Shen family isonoft hatri Greek familius within Second Emperor of Chun Empire, wielding significant power and influence, while it entire planet in Sancian traditions. Although Shen Ye is no direct descendant of Shen family, he still enjoys a commendable standard of living. At least, from the moment of his birth, he was wealthed, cherished by his family. Since childhood, Shen Ye was remarkably quiet and intelligent, often regarded as a prodigy. He was even betrothed at a young age. However, contrary to expectations, a Sheger older, Shen Ye's cultivation talent proved to be quite ordinary, lagging significantly behind others. These world differs markedly from his previous understanding despite its sapper and technological advancement. It merely versus saw backdrop. True powerhouse ancient beings will have cultivated for millennia, specializing in a force known as stellar power, commonly referred to as star force. Moreover, the path to becoming gas-strong individual is natas and please marie cultivation known must also possess oniki object called a chisher. The chisher, originally known as Kila stone, is said to be divine stone left with creator God, capable of bestowing various powers thrice nothing jit cannot achieve. Starforce as Vesto activate Kish's essence, akin to Themenos to cast spells in games. There race in many forsake technology for the pursuit of Starforce is that the stronger the Starforce, the more robust and longer lived in a Beckhams. The size we alleria jerdo persuade. Unlike protagonists in other novels, Shen Ye certain possesses a golden finger indeed, Akalos alone, leaving Gim at a loss. Upon his rebirth, he couldn't respect the spiritual realm, where a large, uneven dark perplegent stone floated, towering to greats. Consequently, Ikdemaya cultivated a considerable amount of star force while Bessa phoned away, leaving him with almost nothing. This rendered his cultivation exceeding Lyslora Gardle's office dedication, even with the assistance office to older brother Sandini's sister, while clandestinely provided him with starstones, he could not catch up to his fierce within the clan. Gradually, Shen Ye accepted this reality. At the age of 16, during the Kaminga Fosh ceremony, Shen Ye faced at crossroads in destiny alongside at the Ethereum members of his generation. The most outstanding members of the clan were invariably sent to 4 seasons academy for further studies, akin to the university's of Shen Ye's past life. Those with decent grades remained in domestic academies for further training, after which they would be signed to significant positions within the country. As for individuals like Shen Ye, who performed poorly and possessed no cultivation talent, He did no 10 counter-theme dramatisments often depicted in novels, such as exclusion or derision. The familial so made arrangements for theme in Shen Ye's case. He wasn't the family training contour for 3 months, after which he was appointed as Sam manager in a high-end OT loan with family, earning an annual salary of 120,000 star coins, including room and board. These was considered a salary, allowing him to sustain himself comfortably. If he worked diligently for a decade, marry and gone starting a family would be quite effortless. However, after my contemplation, Shen Ye ultimately decided to forgo his comfortable existence. Reflecting on his previous life of mediocrity, he resolved to strive for greatness in this life. Thus, he boldly embarks on a journey to Kaiyazing. Of course, Shen Ye would never admit that his motivation stemmed purely from the alluring promotional poster she had seen, featuring enchanting women, leading him to pursue entrepreneurship theory and, perhaps, win the affection of fallacy. Just as Shen Ye's thoughts became increasingly buoyant, a clairvoyance interrupted his reverie. Esteemed passengers, this T-103 interstellar flight is about to land at the transit planet, Kyujixing. Have well already arrived at that transit planet. They must be halfway there at this speed is truly remarkable, Shen Ye mused, somewhat surprised. At that moment, footsteps approached, and a strikingly beautiful flight attendant escorted a plump young man in white shirt into the cabin. Mr. Tang Hao, this is to your seat. Thank you, Tang Ho replied, plopping down with a sigh of relief and promptly pulling Gutatus way to the suite from his forehead. Shen Ye merely glanced at them, not paying much mind. Moments later, the T-103 interstellar flight took off on some more. Hey, buddy, are you also heading to Kaiyazing? Tang Ho struck up a conversation with Shen Ye. Indeed, Shen Ye replied politely, though it weighs a rather redundant statement considering the flight's destination. What brings you to Kaiyazing? Tang Ho inquired curiously. I'm going to start a business, Shen Ye responded casually. Tang Ho slapped his thigh, his cubbiface lightened up with a grin. What a coincidence. I'm also going to start a business. Shen Ye was taken aback. You too? Of course. I've brought my entire savings 100,000 star coins. That's Quitium. What do I plan to do? Shen Ye nodded, aware that they was bringing 30,000 star coins with him, a mixture of pocket money saved from childhood and earnings from Miss Dime as a hotel manager. I haven't decided yet, but there is nourish inspiration welcome me once I arrive. By the way, I've heard the woman on Kaio's Hixinger exceptionally beautiful and charming. Tang Ho excitedly catted with Shen Ye. Shen Ye's lips twitched. Was this guy going to start a business or shazy after women? Hadn't identity it, and he wazelria to thinking about romance. However, according to Tang Ho, pursuing women and entrepreneurship could coexist harmoniously. Naturally, Shen Ye refrained from mocking Tang Ho wasn't in a position to look down on him. Thus, that will exchange at Bontarasti Meflabai. Esteemed passengers, this flight is about to arrive at Kaiyazing Interstellar Airport. Please ensure you have our belongings. Sasun? Shen Ye's napid bacteriality and gazed out the window. In the vastness of space, a stunning red planet loomed ever closer. He was momentarily entranced at watch his first time witnessing such a breathtaking planetary visage. As the spaceship approached, the exterior of Kaiyazing came into view. At first glance, over 50% of Kaiyazing surface was Saturnet with a zao vibrant red maple trees, stretch engineless lie in either direction a truly magnificent and awe-inspiring sight. Amidst the crimson forest, towering Kidias of breathtaking beauty stewed proudly. Fantastic! Ladies, here I come. Tang Ho exclaimed with exuberance. A short while later, that women, wheeling their luggage, descended from the spaceship, surrounded by brightly dressed revealers. The corridors leading to a thixatoria adorned with advertisements featuring an array of beautiful men and women. Before long, Shen Ye and Tang Ho emerged from their rival gate. As they stepped outside, they were immediately swarmed by enthusiastic touts. Care for a meal? Looking for accommodation? We have great deals. Hey brother. Need a taxi? Upon hearing the familiar calls of solicitors, Shen Ye was moved to tears, and had begun to doubt whether he had done witting liar turned to thought troublesome world's Murray. Brother? Is there anything you might need? The hawkers before him, upon witnessing Shen Ye's feel expression, immediately gleamed with opportunistic excitement, sensing no their own witting target. No, I require no thing at all. I have a so minute to meet, a placidus day, and provision soft meon. Shen Ye's demeanor underwent a dramatic transformation, adopting an expression that radiated irresolute distance. Instantly, the hawkers saw round Heim appeared frozen in shame. They had misjudged the situation. They had encountered a connoisseur. Shen Ye instinctively tourned to beckoned Tang He to leave with him. Suddenly, his eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. Sashabil Darather fashionable gentlemen, armed with an array of alluring photo albums featuring various beauties, fervently bombarding Tang He with offers. I have ever type of lady her, and even provide currenting coupley services. Really? Tang He's eyes sparkled with intrigue. Ahem, yet it ultimate lit up our charm. However, with the hour's striking handsomeness, it should BPC off. That gentleman lavish Tang He with effusive empresses. Shen Ye cleared his throat and called out, Hey Tang He. Tang He, snapping back to reality, turned to Shen Ye and remarked, Brother, shall we indulge? This seems squitty appealing. Ahem, no need for that, don't you plan to leave, Tang He. Shen Ye subtly gestured to Tang He, his mind racing, understanding that the hawker slurken gat the airport texator undoubted lia treacherously. I have some matter sto tento. You go ahead, brother. Tang He remained oblivious to Shen Ye's warning. The gentleman, possessing Geiki and Zen's of opportunity, immediately threw one arm around Tang householders, declaring, Let us proceed as walk. I shall introduce you out of the myriad of services available. And with it, Hugh hissed Tang He away. Shen Ye shook his head, resigning himself to the fact that it was no longer his concern had offered all meanding warning, and it was wiser to avoid further entanglements. Thus, Shen Ye grasped his suitcase and maneuvered through Tech Road, making his way towards the high-speed rail station. Having arrived, Shen Ye had diligently conducted Deck 10's cyber research on Chiojizing and its attractions. Chiojizing is a first-class planet under the aegis of Italian's government, renowned for its environmental sustainability and boasting a resident population of 1.62399 billion. The planet experiences no seasons, only a perpetual autumn, making it exceptionally habitable. Its capital, Chiojizing, is extraordinarily prosperous and is home to one of the Alliance government's 5 prestigious academies Chioji Academy, which attracts a multitude of students each year for further studies. The dense population, while contributing to its vibrancy, also leads to a high cost of living. Thus, it is imperative to minimize the expenses as much as possible. Chapter 3, House Viewing on Central Fallen Leaf Street. Shen Ye strolled along the sidewalk, pulling his suitcase and gazing at the surrounding buildings, momentarily lost in thought. Here, not only did opulent skyscrapers tower majestically, but also numerous vintage structures nestled beneath verdant ivy. Various architectural styles intermingled seamlessly, creating an extraordinary harmony rather than a jarring contrast. The ground, aside from the main thoroughfare which was paved with a specialized concrete, was lined with cobblestones on either side, flanked by maple trees. Vibrant red leaves fluttered down like confetti. The beauty of the scene was intoxicating, evoking a longing for romance. Even the passers-by radiated youthful exuberance. Dressed in a myriad of styles that were both pleasing to the eye and strikingly fair-skinned. Wait, what am I thinking? I meant to say, they are all quite impressive and formidable. Hey, you there, move aside. You're blocking our shot. Several middle-aged men in work attire, wielding professional cameras, waved frantically at Shen Ye. At that moment, Shen Ye, who had been fixated on the female lead adorned in exotic attire, snapped back to reality and cleared his throat. My apologies, he stammered. Truly, just another clueless country bumpkin. Never mind him. Let's get the shot done. After offering his apologies, Shen Ye quickly stepped aside and resumed his serious self-talk. The entertainment industry here is indeed thriving. Just a few steps and one encounters filming for microvideos. Once the crew departed, Shen Ye took a deep breath, revitalizing his spirit and mentally urged himself on, all right, time to get to work. He began to explore the various shops along the street. Of course, Shen Ye wasn't wandering aimlessly. He was meticulously cataloging the types of stores in the vicinity, along with their foot traffic. He needed to conduct research for his entrepreneurial aspirations. As the saying goes, no endeavor succeeds without commensurate effort, especially not an autumn star. Autumn star is one of the 4 seasonal planets, aptly named for the seasons they represent. spring star, summer star, autumn star, and winter star. This nomenclature not only reflects the seasonal characteristics of each planet, but also hints at more profound societal variations among their inhabitants, possibly influenced by climate. For instance, the women of spring star are typically sweet and gentle, akin to a spring breeze. In fact, when Shen Ye initially considered venturing to the four seasonal planets, he was quite enamored with spring star but ultimately opted against it after much deliberation. The reasons? Pure chance. He ended up with autumn star, as for summer star. It is said that the women there exude a fiery passion, vivaciousness, and cheerfulness, which are undeniably appealing. However, the sweltering heat was a deal-breaker for Shen Ye. The women of autumn star, in contrast, possess a more reserved demeanor, rich emotionality, and a mature steadiness, complemented by a climate that is quite pleasant for habitation, ultimately making it a fortunate draw for Shen Ye. Winter star, the last of the quartet, captivates Shen Ye even more, as it is widely acknowledged that the women there possess the highest allure among the four planets. They tend to be more subtle and cool. Certainly captivating, yet the entire planet is rather frigid. The four seasonal planets are classified as primary neutral planets under the jurisdiction of the Alliance government, with the central governing planet being Genesis star. Thus, as the largest transit planet of the Alliance government, it boasts excellence in every aspect, particularly in accommodating a plethora of visitors, contributing to the vibrant atmosphere of the four seasonal planets, albeit leading to a mingling of various elements. Fortunately, public safety here is commendable. Uniformed guards patrol every street. Shen Ye, casually wandering the streets with his suitcase, naturally attracted their attention, and they scrutinized him closely. However, Shen Ye paid them no mind. They were merely ordinary guards. Tasked with maintaining public order, in this world, law enforcement personnel can be divided into two categories: these standard guards and the Star Warriors, who cultivate stellar energy and represent true strength in a sense. Shen Ye could be considered a Star Warrior, albeit the most novice among them, with a combat power yet to exceed 5. Nevertheless, his physique was somewhat superior to that of an average person. Having undergone some training, thus, even though Shen Ye disregarded the guards, his body instinctively quickened its pace. After all, being mistaken for a suspicious individual and being taken for a chat would be quite unfortunate. The following day, Shen Ye emerged from a narrow alley off Fallen Leaf Street, his expression reflecting a twinge of pain at the cost he had incurred. This is outrageously expensive. This shabby and lacks any amenities. Yet dares to charge 500 star coins per day. It seems I must promptly begin my search for a proper residence. With that thought, Shen Ye took out his phone to locate his intended destination and set off. Before his arrival, he had already researched a reputable real estate agency online. To avoid being overcharged, Shen Ye, upon reaching Autumn Star, chose to scout the area himself before heading to the agency. Moments later, after boarding a public transit vehicle, he arrived in front of a storefront. He lifted his gaze to read the sign. Baodating Real Estate Agency. Is it really this small? The name, coupled with the diminutive storefront, was disheartening. It was scarcely more impressive than a public restroom. Lowering his gaze to the description on his phone, which boasted of a grand independent skyscraper, 5-star luxurious decor, and a century-old noble butler service, he thought, no way. As Shen Ye turned to leave, a voice called out from behind. I ask that you, Mr. Shen? I've been waiting for you here for several days. A middle-aged man in a white shirt, black trousers, and a bow tie, sporting a scruffy beard, dashed out from the store, eagerly shaking Shen Ye's hand. Shen Ye's face twitched in response. You must have mistaken me for someone else. I really must be going. Just then, as he prepared to depart, his phone rang. The man held up his own phone, showing Shen Ye the screen displaying an active call. Fat Sheep 173. Haha, I was just joking. I am indeed Mr. Shen, but are you sure this is Baodating Agency? It seems rather inconsistent. Shen Ye, embodying the philosophy that if he remained unembarrassed, others would feel awkward, replied with a smile. Haha, the man laughed heartily, but then, without hesitation, his demeanor shifted as he continued. I'll give you a 50 discount on the service fee. Deal. Without a moment's hesitation, Shen Ye agreed. Sure, excellent, follow me. The man waved his hand enthusiastically. Shen Ye followed the man into the store, which, while small, was at least around 10 square meters. They approached a desk, and the man pulled out an old, yellowed map and spread it across the table. Don't underestimate my small agency. I am an elite in the real estate field. If anyone knows Autumn City, I dare say I rank second, and no one would claim to be first. Shen Ye, not one for pleasantries, cleared his throat and interjected. All right, enough boasting. Let us get to the point. Here are my requirements. I want to open a hotel, preferably located on Fallen Leaf Street. Upon hearing this, the man's eyes sparkled as if he had seen his long-lost parents, nearly bowing down to Shen Ye. A hotel, Mr. Shen. You've come to the right person. Whatever price point you have in mind, or how many skyscrapers you require, it's all within my capability. Stop. While I intend to open a hotel, my budget is limited, so I'm starting with a small inn. Shen Ye interrupted the man, clearing his throat to clarify. The man's smile faltered for a moment, but quickly returned. And oh problem, inn works too. I have several prime locations that would suit you perfectly. He then opened his computer and pulled up a listing for a rental flat. I am the heart of Fallen Leaf Street. It boasts a full 1,000 square meters, with convenient transportation and a bustling foot traffic. Not to mention, there are several private schools nearby, so you know the occupancy rate will be excellent. Sounds great. What is the rent? Shen Ye inquired. Feeling excited. Not much. Just 2.4 million star coins annually, the man recommended eagerly. Shen Ye felt utterly bewildered. This little house in the alley costs that much. Are you kidding me? That's outrageous. Outrageous. Go do your research. This is the fairest price you'll find. No one else can offer better, the man insisted, trying to convince Shen Ye. Rubbing his forehead, Shen Ye felt a headache coming on. How could it be so expensive? He had only 300,000 star coins on hand, and his original budget was not to exceed 100,000 for rent, as he still needed funds for renovations and operations. Thus, he decisively said to the man, No, that's way too expensive. Do you have anything in a more affordable area? Yes, there are options in the second ring area, the man replied, maintaining his professional demeanor. Second ring works, but it still needs to be near Fallen Leaf Street. No problem. I have 3 options here. This one is a bit smaller, 500 square meters, with an annual rent of 750,000, extremely cheap, and it even comes with a prominent entrance. No way, that's too expensive. Still too pricey? Then let us take a look at this one. Gradually, Shen Ye and Bao Cheng immersed themselves in their research. After a lengthy investigation, they found themselves gazing at the area surrounding the 5th ring of Autumn City from the Central District. This one should work, right? It's 600 square meters, with an annual rent of 120,000, also right next to Fallen Leaf Avenue. Bao Cheng was nearly exasperated. Are you sure it's south beside Fallen Leaf Avenue? I feel like it's a tad off. Should we just forget it? Shen Ye studied the map, using his pinky to measure, and indeed it seemed slightly askew. It's known that the further out you go, the less foot traffic there is. If it's not right by the main road, then the foot traffic will be even worse. Seeing is believing, let me take you to check it out. Upon noticing Shen Ye's wavering resolve, Bao Cheng feared this opportunity might slip away, and with a quick glance, he said, All right. After a moment of thought, Shen Ye replied, Then let us set off. Bao Cheng swiftly led Shen Ye into a second-hand beetle, and they sped off at an impressive pace. The entire old beetle rattled incessantly. Shen Ye smirked and casually chatted with Bao Cheng. Uncle, how many years has this car been around? Isn't it time for retirement? Not that many years, just a little over 100. Don't worry, my beloved little powerhouse can absolutely last another 100 years without a hitch. Bao Cheng, biting on a cigarette and grooving to the loud music, drove even more energetically. Shen Ye silently closed his eyes, choosing to ignore his words, and reassured himself that everything would be fine. Suddenly, a blaring horn pierced the air. Shen Ye jolted awake, only to see Bao Cheng swerving alongside a sports car. Neither yielding an inch, the sports car suddenly slammed on the gas. Vroom! It shot ahead, and a hand emerged from the window, giving an unmistakable middle finger. Shen Ye was startled. Indeed, such iconic gestures are universally understood. Oh dear, how audacious, brother. Hold on tight. Hey, what are you doing? Shen Ye quickly reacted. Before he could finish speaking, Baocheng slammed on the gas, the old car roaring to life as they swayed and sped after the sports car. Holy moly, we're racing. Shen Ye's face turned pale. Half an hour later, the dilapidated Beetle came to a halt by the roadside. Shen Ye opened the door and stepped out, his legs trembling. Haha, we've arrived. This is the place. Baocheng appeared as if nothing had happened. Shen Ye let out a long sigh, regaining his composure, and lifted his gaze. A rundown old building loomed before him. He turned to glance back at Fallen Leaf Avenue in the distance. Goodness, the straight-line distance must be at least a kilometer. Shen Ye decisively turned to leave. Baocheng quickly blocked his path. Mr. Shen, not satisfied. Not at all. And no worries, I have several more options. This is merely an appetizer. Baocheng hurriedly explained, fine, I'll give you one more chance. Shen Ye had no choice. Having come this far, it seemed his budget only allowed him to consider properties in the Fifth Ring area. However, it must be noted that while all these places belonged to Autumn City, this area was particularly decrepit. The ground was littered with garbage, and although foot traffic was decent, the attire of the passers-by was notably shabby. Even worse than what Shen Ye had experienced on his previous planet, the class divide was glaringly apparent. Subsequently, Shen Ye followed Baocheng around to view various properties. Several hours later, they exited yet another building. Shen Ye shook his head, declaring, no way, too expensive. 400 square meters for 170,000. That's robbery. Look, this property is close to Fallen Leaf Avenue, and it comes with an entrance and storefront. The value is exceptionally high. Baocheng insisted, nearly at his wit's end. Having shown at least a dozen options without even taking a lunch break, Shen Ye weighed his options once more, yet still shook his head. It exceeded his budget. His absolute limit was 150,000, as he needed to reserve half for renovations and startup costs. Forget it, I didn't expect to find something immediately. Let us just leave it at this for now. I'll look again next time to know. Wait, let me think. Baocheng was sweating nervously. Do you have any other options? Yes. Baocheng suddenly had a light bulb moment and turned to Shen Ye. Are you sure? Don't try to pull a fast one on me. How could I deceive you? I genuinely have a great place. Not only is the location superb, but it's also spacious and, most importantly, incredibly affordable. You wouldn't even have to rent. With your financial strength, you could buy it outright. Baocheng earnestly insisted. Shen Ye scrutinized Baocheng, exasperated. Are you joking with me? Where on earth would you find such a property? It's just over there. Follow me. I'll show you. Baocheng pointed towards a small alley across Fallen Leaf Avenue. Shen Ye hesitated. It all seemed too good to be true, sensing Shen Ye's reluctance. Baocheng quickly added, since we're here, what harm is there in taking a look? You think I could really deceive you? Besides, even if I wanted to, you wouldn't fall for it. Right? Chapter 4. The Haunted House. Upon hearing Baocheng's explanation, Shen Ye's doubts were momentarily alleviated. After all, what harm could come from just taking a look? As long as he remained sharp and didn't get fooled. It would be fine, all right. Mr. Shen is indeed decisive. Follow me. Baocheng gestured invitingly. Shen Ye, still somewhat skeptical, followed Baocheng as they crossed the overpass to the opposite side of Fallen Leaf Avenue. Soon, Baocheng led Shen Ye into a small alley. Initially, Shen Ye instinctively thought they would walk much deeper in. However, they had only gone about 7 or 8 meters when Baocheng abruptly halted in front of a tightly shut shop door. Shen Ye looked up at the entrance, where the sign was severely damaged, barely revealing the words tavern. Are you sure this is the place? Shen Ye questioned, incredulous. The location is decent, although it's not directly on Fallen Leaf Avenue. It's at the intersection of the alley's head, easy to find, and passers-by on Fallen Leaf Avenue would likely notice it. Of course, this is the place. As he spoke, Baocheng rummaged through his pockets. Are you certain you have the key? Shen Ye asked, growing increasingly skeptical as Baocheng took his time to produce it. Haha, I forgot to bring it, but what do we need a key for? The door is already open. Let us head inside. Baocheng was unperturbed. casually pushing the door, which surprisingly creaked open. Shen Ye's face twitched in disbelief, but since the door was open, he followed Bao Cheng inside. Upon entering, he was greeted by a spacious interior, approximately 100 square meters, just for the ground floor. However, the place was a chaotic mess, filled with a pungent smell of alcohol and strewn with broken tables and glass shards. Resembling a demolition site, this establishment spans 3 levels, plus an additional basement, each floor roughly 100 square meters, and there's more, a backyard of about 50 square meters, and a 100 square meter bungalow, although it's somewhat small. The price is incredibly reasonable. Bao Cheng led Shen Ye upstairs. The wooden stairs creaked ominously with each step, covered in dust that indicated a long period without maintenance. Shen Ye felt a twinge of concern about the possibility of falling through. Bao Cheng opened the rooms on the second floor for Shen Ye to inspect. What do you think? The natural light is unbeatable. Each room has its own window. Half an hour later, Shen Ye had thoroughly examined the property. To be honest, aside from being a bit small, everything else was impeccable. Are you satisfied? Bao Cheng beamed at Shen Ye, casually handing him a bottle of mineral water. Not bad. Now let us discuss the rent. As Shen Ye drank, he narrowed his eyes. The critical moment had arrived, and no matter how much he liked the property, if they couldn't agree on the price, it would all be for naught. You needn't worry about that. I assure you you'll be pleased. You wouldn't need to rent this place. You can buy it outright for just 150,000 star coins, Bao Cheng declared confidently, patting his chest. Pfft. Shen Ye spat his water all over Bao Cheng's face, incredulously asking 150,000 star coins to buy. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? How could I possibly believe such nonsense? 150,000 star coins is probably just enough for a year's rent. Are you trying to pull a fast one on me, Mr. Shen? How could I possibly deceive you? I swear on my dear mother's name. You are my most important client. I wouldn't dream of lying to you. Bao Cheng raised his right hand, swearing earnestly, his eyes brimming with sincerity. I don't believe it. 150,000 star coins for such a great deal? Why don't you buy it yourself? Shen Ye retorted, irritated, suspecting that either Bao Cheng was merely trying to amuse him or was attempting to swindle him. I am a professional with integrity. How could I possibly engage in such self-dealing? Bao Cheng feigned righteousness, his face betraying no guilt as he lied through his teeth. Shen Ye gave him a thumbs up, thinking, this guy truly has thick skin. Whatever you say, I want to be convinced. Mr. Shen, you must trust my words. This property truly is worth only 150,000 star coins. Just think about it. Such an affordable price for a residence in the Autumn City. You could swiftly join the ranks of homeowners, marry, start a family, and ascend to the pinnacle of life. What a dream come true. You don't believe me. Really, you should. I trust you like I would trust a ghost. But it's true, Bao Cheng earnestly explained and assured Shen Ye. At that moment, Shen Ye was tempted to walk away, yet to claim he was not intrigued would be a lie. The price was astonishingly low. And even though he sensed something amiss, his heart was restless with desire. Determined, Shen Ye turned to Bao Cheng and said, Stop joking with me. Be honest. What's wrong with this house? Is there a debt dispute? Is it impossible to transfer ownership? None of that. As long as you are willing to buy, we can sign the contract and transfer ownership immediately, Bao Cheng declared confidently, thumping his chest. That's impossible. There must be an issue. Just come clean with me. Shen Ye was even more skeptical. Wasn't this akin to giving it away for free? Who in the world would encounter such fortune? If only he were that fortunate. He might believe it. All right, since you insist, let me reveal the truth. This tavern has a history of death. It's a haunted house, which is why it's so cheap, Bao Cheng reluctantly admitted. I knew there was a catch. But are you sure it's merely because someone died here? Shen Ye still harbored doubts, feeling unsettled. Such an inexpensive price surely implied more than just a single death. It would be an affront to its value. Absolutely. How could I dare to deceive you? As you know, in Autumn Star, those who can afford to buy property are quite discerning. They would never purchase this place. Those who cannot afford it, no matter the circumstances, simply cannot buy. Bao Cheng fervently attempted to convince Shen Ye. If it's just a haunted house, Then I'm not particularly concerned. I don't believe in such things, Shen Ye retorted without a second thought. Even though he was the prime example of disbelief, yet he remained unconvinced, as poverty felt far more terrifying. Then this is perfect. What are you hesitating for? Buy it decisively. You will not regret it. Shen Ye's expression shifted as he deliberated. And ultimately, he could no longer resist, gritting his teeth and declaring, "Fine, if it truly is as you say, then I shall buy it. That is the spirit. Let us go sign the contract. I'll handle the online transfer for you and hand you the keys." Bao Cheng's greasy face broke into a wide grin. Seeing Bao Cheng so delighted made Shen Ye increasingly uneasy, as if he were being duped, and he quickly reminded him, "You promised me a 50% discount on the service fee." "Understood. I'll charge you just 1% of the commission, no more than a dime. Let us go. Let us sign that contract," Bao Cheng urged, hastily pushing Shen Ye along, fearful that he might change his mind. After a lengthy while in Bao's real estate office, Shen Ye signed his name on a contract and transferred the agreed-upon funds. Bao Cheng swiftly processed the online transfer, and it was completed in no time. Chapter 5. The night watcher Shen Ye immediately received a notification from the Autumn Star Property Management Bureau. "Dear Mr. Shen Ye, congratulations on acquiring the property with ID F13940 in Autumn Star." As Shen Ye read the message, he felt as though he were in a daze. Had it truly been accomplished? At that moment, Bao Cheng pulled out 2 keys from a drawer and handed them to Shen Ye with a beaming smile. "Here are the keys. Make sure to keep them safe. I look forward to your next visit. Is it really this simple?" "Wait, doesn't he, the original owner, need to confirm the transfer?" Shen Ye suddenly realized. "Haha, no need for that. The original owner is deceased, so rest assured. You can move in. It will be your nest from now on. All right, I'll take my leave then." Shen Ye felt as though he might be overlooking something important. But he couldn't quite grasp it. Never mind, he thought. He had already made the purchase. "Take care." Bao Cheng warmly saw Shen Ye off. That evening, Shen Ye arrived at the tavern's entrance, dragging a suitcase, and stared silently at the dilapidated storefront for a long time. "Let us go. I look forward to your support," he confidently gestured, as if encouraging himself. He then bowed slightly to the sign, a gesture of greeting, for this was the first step in his entrepreneurial journey. Pushing open the door, Shen Ye entered, dragging his suitcase. He casually chose a room on the second floor, clearing a small area for cleanliness. He unpacked a few thick garments from his suitcase and spread them on the floor. Lying down, he stretched his body, deciding to make do for the night. After all, he had been busy all day and was quite exhausted. He would do a major shopping spree the following day. And he anticipated a flurry of activity in the days to come. As he pondered, his eyelids grew heavier, and he quickly drifted into slumber, thoroughly worn out from the day's events with Bao Cheng. As night deepened, the crisp sound of chirping insects grew increasingly distinct. Suddenly, a faint noise startled the sleeping Shen Ye awake. On the first floor, 2 shadows slipped through the window and landed on the floor. The indistinct figures exchanged glances, beginning their search of the decrepit tavern. After some time, the 2 shadows appeared baffled. "Where is he? This is odd. I clearly saw the property change hands. That fellow has moved in. How could he possibly be missing? What do we do now? Search again, all right." In a concealed cupboard on the second floor, Shen Ye curled up, wearing a look of regret. "It's over. I shouldn't have trusted that Bao Cheng. He is a complete con artist. I just moved in, and already assassins are knocking at my door. This is clearly an attempt to silence me. No wonder the house was so cheap. It's a trap." Then came the sound of frantic rummaging. "Where is he?" He is not found. At that moment, a kindly-looking older man appeared behind the 2 shadows. "Where is he?" The 2 shadows quickly turned to respond. "Manager by. We haven't found him yet." In the faint starlight, the features of the 2 young men were barely discernible. They had spiky hair and swords tucked at their waists. "Are you idiots, sneaking around at such an hour? If I were you, I would hide too," the manager, scolded them without hesitation, raising his hands to smack their heads. "But we've always done it this way. What should we do? Of course, we must provide friendly service. Understand? Be warm and approachable." Manager reprimanded them. exasperated. Yes, yes, the two young men promptly lowered their heads in acknowledgement. Watch closely and learn. After finishing his reprimand, Manager Bai turned, beaming with a friendly demeanor, calling out, "Brother, we mean no harm. We are good people. Please come out." Inside the concealed cupboard, Shen Ye's lips twitched in disdain. "Do you take me for a 3-year-old? You think you can trick me with this? No way. I refuse to come out." Manager Bai, parched from calling, found the tavern eerily silent. "Manager, it seems your friendly service isn't working." Yes, not falling for it. The two men standing by struggled to suppress their laughter as they responded. Manager Bai's expression stiffened, and he slapped the two men's faces in frustration, angrily commanding, "What are you standing there for? Search, find him." "Yes, yes." At that moment, hidden away, Shen Ye grew increasingly anxious as he realized these individuals were clearly after him. This was a conspiracy, akin to a scam. No, he couldn't hide any longer. He would surely be caught. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He recalled the open window at the end of the second-floor corridor and resolved to escape through it. The window in this room was out of the question. It had security bars and would not allow for a leap, though Shen Ye was considered quite lacking in his family's training. He had nonetheless undergone professional training and possessed keen crisis awareness. Without hesitation, Shen Ye took a deep breath, held it, and slipped out, sprinting without a second thought. In just a few breaths, he dashed to the end of the corridor. The open window drawing nearer, the hope of escape was within reach. However, just as he reached the edge of the window, his expression turned to one of joy. Poised to jump down, two shadows descended beside Shen Ye. Seizing his shoulders and pinning him to the ground, their swords pressed against his neck. "Where do you think you're going?" Shen Ye's heart plummeted as if on a roller coaster, drenched in cold sweat. It's over. I've been captured." At that moment, Manager Bai approached. Manager Bai, "We've captured the kid." Smack, smack. Before the words were fully uttered, Manager Bai raised his hand and slapped the two men again. "What are you doing? I told you. We are a formal department. We must be civilized. We must provide friendly service. Put the swords away." The two young men exchanged glances, then hurriedly sheathed their swords. Manager Bai, still smiling, said, "Young brother, I apologize for the scare. We are not bad people." Shen Ye gazed at the white supervisor before him, still somewhat shaken, and struggled to swallow, though this individual wore a cheerful smile. It only heightened Shen Ye's unease. "Who are you? Why have you captured me? It seems we are unfamiliar with one another. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Night Warden of the Star Tower." A direct agency of the Alliance government, the Night Warden of the Star Tower. Shen Ye was utterly bewildered. Why would the Night Warden of the Star Tower apprehend him? During his studies within the family, the elders had introduced them to the Star Tower. This esteemed institution was a vital special department of the Alliance government, divided into 3 agencies. One of these was the Night Wardens, tasked with maintaining order during the night, employing discreet methods to address criminal Star Warriors active after dark, while the daytime disturbances were managed by the Guard Bureau. Additionally, the Star Tower boasted 2 other specialized agencies, the Star Hunters, akin to bounty hunters, who operated freely, typically responding to tasks assigned by the Star Tower, and the Heresy Judgment Team, renowned for tackling exceedingly challenging incidents and grave offenses committed by Star Warriors. Moreover, the Star Tower served another function, registering and rating Star Warriors. Those who registered and received a rating from the Star Tower were entitled to a monthly stipend, which increased with their strength. Chapter 6. The Star Tower in this world. The hierarchy of Star Warriors was straightforward, comprising 12 tiers, ranging from 1 star to 12 Star Warriors, with each tier further divided into 10 levels. The classifications were easily discernible. A 1-star warrior was merely a novice, while a 2-star warrior represented a foundational level. A 3-star warrior could be regarded as a minor success, a pillar of the mid-lower echelon. 4-star warriors achieved significant mastery, gaining renown within a region. 5-star warriors could dominate a territory, becoming local lords. 6-star warriors were considered regional overlords or lords themselves, rarely encountering rivals. The 7-star warriors marked a qualitative leap, transcending ordinary understanding. 8-star warriors were labeled as peerless, seldom venturing into the world. 9-star warriors were referred to as Star Lords, the most formidable masters publicly acknowledged by the Alliance government. At this level, they were unmatched. Existing beyond reach, AS for the higher tiers, Shen Ye was uncertain of their existence. However, he was quite sure that the two young men before him were likely around 3-star level, AS for the white supervisor. Shen Ye found it impossible to gauge. The disparity was too great, especially considering his own meager 1-star, 3-level status, which hardly warranted a fighting capacity of 5. Indeed, we are the Night Wardens of the Star Tower. Fully certified officials, the white supervisor beamed, his smile almost blooming upon hearing this. Shen Ye scrutinized the white supervisor from head to toe. Night Wardens, certified officials? Absolutely, without a doubt, the white supervisor replied cheerfully. Then how dare you trespass into my residence? Brandishing swords to intimidate the public. Do you believe I won't report you to the Star Tower? I'm referring to both of you, Shen Ye retorted, glaring at the two young men. The two young men were equally infuriated. Internally cursing, how brazen, the white supervisor's smile faltered, and he narrowed his eyes at Shen Ye, realizing he had misjudged him. This fellow was also a star warrior, albeit with a feeble aura. Please, do not be upset. The two of them are newcomers and lack understanding. We have come to you on official business, he explained. Speak then, what is it? If your reasons are insufficient, you shall owe me for my emotional distress. Shen Ye countered, beginning to haggle. How audacious. You are pushing it. The two young men seethed. The white supervisor shot them a glare, prompting them to retreat immediately, although Shen Ye wore a smirk of triumph. He felt a weight in his heart. Now that he understood they were Night Wardens, his obstinacy was merely an attempt to expedite their departure. He had little desire to engage with them. Mr. Shen, please do not take offense. We have received word that this tavern has been transferred to your name. I purchased it with my own funds. It is mine now. Shen Ye shivered with realization. Could it be that this tavern is indeed problematic? Rest assured, we are well aware of this, the supervisor replied. Then what do you intend to do? Do not be alarmed. This tavern was previously a contact point for us Night Wardens. And now that it is in your name, we have come to invite you to join us, the white supervisor explained enthusiastically. Oh, is that so? I decline, Shen Ye responded without hesitation. The white supervisor's face twitched again. But he maintained his cordial demeanor. Do not be hasty. Joining us comes with numerous benefits. This is a tremendous opportunity, and I only offer it because I see potential in you, Mr. Shen. Numerous benefits? No. Thank you. You think me a fool. One must first have their life intact to seize such opportunities. If I am not mistaken, the previous tavern owner was eliminated, correct? Shen Ye shot back. That was an unfortunate incident. An unfortunate incident. If it were truly an accident, why did you take so long to send someone to take over, allowing it to land on my doorstep? Mr. Shen, please, let us discuss this. Discuss what? I want to return to my sleep. No further discussion. Shen Ye turned to leave, refusing to grant the white supervisor a chance to retort. However, just as he took a step forward, two sharp swords were once again pressed against his neck. Shen Ye froze, a grimace crossing his face. Actually, I believe we could still discuss this. Now we're getting somewhere, the white supervisor said, his smile widening, though he cursed Shen Ye in his mind for playing tricks. Brother, I am merely an ordinary person. Joining you to establish a stronghold is beyond my capabilities. Just look at me. I am frail, incapable of lifting a finger or engaging in combat. I truly cannot manage this. Shen Ye lamented, pulling the sympathy card. Mr. Shen, please do not be anxious. This is a supply point for the Night Wardens, and it is very secure. I assure you that whatever happens, we will be here for you. Furthermore, would you not like to hear about the benefits of becoming a supply point for the Night Wardens? What benefits? Firstly, by joining us, you will be considered a member of the Star Tower. Essentially a civil servant. Moreover, you will be one of the most comfortable civil servants, free from the toils of travel and combat, while enjoying protection. You would only need to provide minimal services once you become our supply point. You need not worry about lack of business, as we will frequently patronize your establishment. Additionally, I can apply for a D-grade subsidy on your behalf, which will grant you an annual income of an extra 100,000 star coins simply for lying in bed. How many levels of subsidies are there? There are 4 regular levels. A, B, C, and D. A D-grade subsidy is insufficient. I require at least a B grade. That is not possible. I cannot secure that unless your performance is exemplary. The white supervisor replied, visibly frustrated. Then I refuse. Such a perilous task with such scant compensation? No way. Shen Ye shook his head vigorously, adamantly haggling with the white supervisor. The 2 young men standing by were utterly bemused, unable to comprehend why their supervisor was treating this individual with such deference and engaging in lengthy discourse. Absolutely not. This is my final concession. All utilities will be waived. That is as far as I can go. The white supervisor gritted his teeth. Fine. Shen Ye's eyes lit up at the prospect of eliminating a significant expense. Upon hearing Shen Ye's acceptance, the white supervisor produced a document and pen with a smile, saying, Mr. Shen, please sign here. Shen Ye hesitated as he took the pen, studying the white supervisor. Are you certain you can guarantee my safety? Rest assured, previous incidents were mere accidents. You must be aware of the Star Tower's power. Yes? Who would dare to challenge us? The white supervisor vowed earnestly. All right. Shen Ye gritted his teeth and signed the document. In truth, he was acutely aware that he had no real choice, despite the white supervisor's seemingly harmless demeanor. He was essentially a cunning wolf in sheep's clothing. Chapter 7. The rare stone had Shen Ye refused. The opposition would not have shown him any mercy. In the end, he would have to acquiesce. So it was better to comply now and strive to gain some benefit. Upon seeing Shen Ye's signature, the white supervisor's smile blossomed even more. From this day forth, we shall be colleagues. You may call me supervisor by. I am in charge of the night wardens here. Should you require anything, please do not hesitate to inform me. Please hand me your phone. Shen Ye handed over his phone, puzzled. The white supervisor took the phone and swiftly operated it, downloading a discrete app named Tavern. He then opened the app, snapped several photos of Shen Ye, and registered his information. Congratulations. You are now the owner of Star Tower. Contact point number 4444. I have bound your identity to this. And you can access many special goods for sale through this Tavern app. However, do not set the prices too high. The regulations stipulate that you may add a maximum profit of 30%. After all, this is a service meant for our own kind. Naturally, the goods you personally handle do not count. Would this be considered bundled sales? Shen Ye's lips twitched. It felt reminiscent of the franchising schemes from the past. That aside, this Tavern software possesses numerous features, yet your current permissions are limited, with few functionalities available for your use. Take your time to explore them later. By the way, let me outline your obligations. Supervisor Bai smiled as he spoke. Isn't receiving you the end of the matter? Shen Ye looked at Supervisor Bai, utterly bewildered. Essentially, that is the case, but I must clarify the specifics. First, you must not refuse to welcome members of the Xingta. Second, in emergencies, you are required to provide temporary shelter and urgent medical assistance. Third, you must collect intelligence for the Xingta. Supervisor Bai raised his fingers, addressing Shen Ye. A flood of expletives surged through Shen Ye's mind. This rotund fellow was undoubtedly being deliberately vague, downplaying the ease of the situation, and now he suddenly revealed an avalanche of demands. Very well. Shen Ye responded wearily. By the way, Supervisor Bai resumed. There can't be more. Can there? Shen Ye's expression darkened. There isn't, but I personally have a few suggestions for you. First, it would be wise to hire some individuals promptly to tidy up the tavern in preparation for opening. If you do not commence operations within 7 days, it will affect your subsidies. Damn, can I curse? No, how could I possibly finish organizing everything in 7 days? I simply do not have the funds to hire help. Respected Mr. Shen, that is not within my purview. Additionally, I recommend that you consider hiring a professional doctor, specifically a healing-type star warrior. Otherwise, if someone dies from a lack of medical care, we won't be responsible. Are you jesting? Do you believe I can afford that? Professional healing-type star warriors are wealthier than I am. Shen Ye appeared utterly confounded. You might also contemplate self-study. Well, I have matters to attend to. So, I shall take my leave and not disturb you further. With a wave of his hand, Supervisor Bai departed with his two young subordinates. Once outside the tavern, the two young subordinates looked at Supervisor Bai with confusion. Supervisor, why were you so courteous to that fellow? He seems to be taking advantage of us. Are you two idiots? Do you want to complete your quotas or not? If he does not fill this position, who will? At this point, anyone who sees this outpost reacts as if they have seen a ghost. It has been annihilated 3 times already. Who would want to come here? Supervisor Bai replied testily. Yes, Supervisor. The two exchanged glances. Just as Supervisor Bai took a few more steps, he halted, turned, and said ominously to the two, "Send someone to keep a close watch here. Are we really supposed to keep an eye on him?" Isn't that rather excessive? Supervisor Bai narrowed his eyes. A smile plastered across his face as he looked at them, then suddenly erupted with spittle. Long story short, with the tavern reopening, isn't he the perfect bait? Keep a close watch. We cannot afford to have it shut down again. Yes, the two young subordinates hastily replied. Supervisor Bai flicked his sleeve and departed. Inside the tavern, Shen Ye stood by the window in the corridor, watching Supervisor Bai and his party vanish into the darkness, his expression shifting constantly. That Supervisor Bai is no pushover. This time, I have truly fallen into his trap. Nevertheless, becoming a base for the night watchers is not entirely a bad thing. At the very least, it offers some job security, though it does come with a hint of danger. This world appears deceptively safe on the surface, yet the reality is far from idyllic. The Alliance government was established thousands of years ago, and the Star Sea governed by the Alliance is actually enveloped by a cosmic barrier. This barrier forms a protective shield, safeguarding the entire Alliance from attacks by the myriad enemies of the Void. However, this does not mean we can rest easy. Despite the protection of the cosmic barrier, numerous alien races still manage to infiltrate through rifts or by other means. Tio put it bluntly, there will always be a few dimwits and fools who, for no reason, conduct rituals to summon monsters. In addition to these, there are those who utilize rare stones for nefarious purposes, remnants of the old Empire's rebels, and various heretics left over from history. It is truly a case of internal strife and external threats. Star Warriors inherently possess strength far exceeding that of ordinary individuals, especially those who wield rare stones. Should they commit crimes, the consequences would be catastrophic. This is precisely why organizations like the Xingta were established, fundamentally to maintain a balance against these Star Warriors. Speaking of rare stones, Shen Ye felt a pang of envy. Those are indeed valuable commodities. Although he seems to possess one, it is regrettably underwhelming. Every individual who owns a rare stone is not like him. For instance, Supervisor Bai effortlessly displayed a blue rare stone embedded in his possession, which is why Shen Ye hastily acquiesced, to avoid an unpleasant fate later on. Rare stones can be easily classified by the color of the starlight they emit, ranked from low to high as follows: white, blue, purple, orange, legendary, orange-blue, mythical, orange-blue-purple, epic, and gold, divine. Furthermore, the functions of rare stones vary significantly. Essentially, if you can think of it, there is no capability they cannot provide. However, rare stones are also categorized into 2 types based on their functions. One is ability stones, which directly grant unique abilities, while the other is equipment stones, which can be combined with various rare materials to forge an array of weapons and armor. These tools are classified into 3 tiers: precious artifacts, imperial artifacts, and star artifacts. Regardless of the tier, these tools are exceedingly valuable. Typically, 1-4 Star Warriors can wield precious artifacts, 5-7 Star Warriors can wield imperial artifacts, and 8-9 Star Warriors can wield star artifacts. At this moment, Shen Ye regained his focus, stretched, and yawned, preparing to return for another nap. He was utterly exhausted after dealing with this group for what felt like an eternity. Tomorrow, he would have much to do. He had 7 days to open, and the thought alone was exasperating. Chapter 8. Talent. The following morning, as the gentle morning light streamed through the window, illuminating Shen Ye's face, he slowly opened his eyes and promptly sat up. As the saying goes, the early bird catches the worm. As a young man brimming with ambition, Shen Ye could never fall back into the habit of sleeping in as he did in his previous life. He walked directly out of the tavern. After a while, the tavern door swung open, and Shen Ye emerged, a bun clenched between his teeth, and an array of cleaning tools in hand, including a broom and a mop. He surveyed the dilapidated hall with a deep sense of reflection. After swiftly finishing the bun, he donned a mask and began the cleaning process. Shen Ye dragged the broken chairs and decorations one by one to the entrance. Discarding them, dust flew into the air, coughed. In truth, Shen Ye wished to hire some help, but he was simply too impoverished. Once he finished cleaning, he would still need to renovate the tavern and purchase dining tables and other supplies. Just these items alone would be a significant burden, not to mention the stock. As for the subsidies supervisor by mentioned, they likely would not be dispersed unless he completed a full year of service. Thus, he might as well do it himself. Over the span of 7 days, Shen Ye roughly planned out his tasks. It was not unachievable. 3 days for cleaning, 2 days for purchasing materials to mend and patch up, and then sourcing some second-hand furniture, followed by a symbolic purchase of supplies to wrap things up. As for whether he would be met with disdain or if anyone would be willing to patronize the establishment, that was not a concern for Shen Ye at this moment. His only goal was to open and secure those subsidies, as the star currency in this world is incredibly valuable, regardless of whether one is a star warrior or an ordinary person. Everyone must use star currency. This currency is forged from star stones, the very essence used by star warriors to enhance their cultivation. Despite his previous high salary, that was due to his position as a senior executive in the family business. Normally, one does not earn a salary of that magnitude before long. The morning passed, and a mountain of garbage had accumulated at the tavern's entrance. Shen Ye plopped down at the door, gulping down a bottle of mineral water. Passers-by instinctively glanced over, but did not pay much attention. New shops opened here daily, just as others closed. Nothing particularly captivating. Shen Ye exhaled deeply, turning to survey the now cleared tavern, which indeed appeared much more pleasing to the eye. Regardless, this was his first piece of real estate. Although the method of acquisition was rather peculiar and did not seem particularly auspicious, overall, it was still satisfactory. As he contemplated this, a thought flickered in Shen Ye's mind. Perhaps this tavern hides something valuable, akin to the cliché plotlines found in novels. Once this notion took root, it became increasingly irresistible. It was not entirely impossible. This tavern had previously served as a base for the night watchers, and its destruction surely had a reason behind it. Perhaps there truly are treasures to be found. Shen Ye's heart ignited with fervor. He could not simply ignore this. He needed to search thoroughly. Perhaps he would stumble upon an unexpected fortune. With that thought, Shen Ye felt invigorated, diving back into the cleaning. Cleaning while inspecting proved to be the most efficient method. Regrettably, however, things did not go as planned. Shen Ye devoted 3 days to meticulously cleaning every nook and cranny of the tavern, yet ultimately found nothing of value. His disappointment was profound, but he accepted the outcome with grace, maintaining a positive outlook. He quickly regained his composure. He proceeded to a nearby bank to withdraw some funds, purchasing wooden planks and tools to begin repairing the dilapidated staircase and some damaged walls. As for aesthetics, that was a concern for another time. With a rhythmic thud, Shen Ye began to patch and hammer away. At that moment, a curious old man poked his head through the door, peering around with keen interest. "Who are you looking for?" Shen Ye noticed him and paused, puzzled. Surely, it was too soon for any business inquiries. Was the tavern about to reopen? The old man's gaze was fixed intently on Shen Ye, making him feel somewhat uneasy. "Yes, what is it? Is there a problem?" "Wonderful. I'm from the neighboring shop that sells second-hand furniture. Let me tell you, previous owners have always come to me for their purchases, guaranteeing quality at reasonable prices, and I can even offer you a discount." Second-hand furniture sounded quite appealing. Shen Ye was intrigued and decided to take a look. "Lead the way." The old man's face lit up with a broad smile. Shen Ye followed him to a store several blocks away, his expression tightening as he recognized it as the very place next door. Nevertheless, it was indeed a shop for second-hand furniture. The establishment was filled with various items, bars, cabinets, tables, chairs, all in nearly new condition. Are you certain these are in nearly new condition? Shen Ye asked, brushing off a layer of dust on one piece, noting its age and wear. Absolutely, I assure you, these are indeed in superb condition. Just look at the design. It seems tailor-made for your tavern. These vintage wooden pieces are hard to find on the market. Stop with the sales pitch. How much for all of this? Shen Ye was somewhat tempted. The furniture did seem to match the tavern style, explaining the previous owner's choices. For a complete package, just 100,000 star coins. Are you joking? For such old items, I wouldn't pay more than 50,000. They're not that old. The previous owners didn't last long, and I've added quite a few new pieces. The old man was becoming agitated. Upon hearing this, Shen Ye nearly spat out in disbelief. Wait a minute. Did you haul these from my tavern? No wonder I felt something was off. Even if the place was turned upside down, there shouldn't be a single intact piece left. You heard wrong. I didn't take anything. The old man realized he had misspoken. 40,000. You're trying to rob me. The old man was now thoroughly flustered. Sell or don't. I'm leaving. Shen Ye was equally irked. Under normal circumstances, these items should still be in the tavern, and now he had to spend money to replace them. All right, let us negotiate. I'll sell. The old man hurriedly backtracked. Pack it up for me. Have it delivered tomorrow, and I'll pay upon receipt. Shen Ye remained wary of the old man. This individual seemed incredibly untrustworthy, selling the same furniture multiple times. And oh wonder the shop was so poorly situated and hadn't gone out of business yet. Of course. By the way, there's another room behind your tavern filled with fine furniture. If you don't want it, you can sell it to me. Absolutely not. Don't even think about it. Chapter 9. Intelligence. Shen Ye was thoroughly exasperated with the old man. The locked room behind the tavern was secure, and thankfully so. Otherwise, the furniture inside would have surely been looted. Come on, we can discuss the price. Shen Ye scoffed, turning to leave the shop. Strutting about like that. I'll be back to collect my things later. The old man watched Shen Ye walk away, muttering discontentedly. Returning to the tavern, Shen Ye was filled with frustration. Having gone out in high spirits only to return defeated, he gazed at the repair materials scattered on the floor and found a spot to sit. After the encounter with that man, he lacked the motivation to work. Deciding to take a break for the day, he soon fell into a daze. Ding! A crisp notification sound rang out. Shen Ye pulled his phone from his pocket. Glancing at a new message. Dear Mr. Shen, your balance is insufficient to cover next month's subscription fee. Please recharge promptly. After reading it, Shen Ye deleted the message and was about to return his phone to his pocket when a thought struck him. He retrieved it again, opening the tavern app out of curiosity. A straightforward interface appeared before him. Resource Center, Intelligence Center, Bounty Center, Sharing Center, so many features. Shen Ye's interest peaked, yet upon clicking, he found many buttons unresponsive and grayed out. A prompt appeared. Please increase your honor level to unlock more features. What on earth? Shen Ye scrutinized his personal information. Name, Shen Ye. Gender, male. Age, 18. Position, Star Tower number 4444. Liaison Manager. Honor level, LV0. Intern, 0-100. Remarks. Intern benefits include a 3-year D-grade subsidy. Damn that scoundrel. He has been deceiving me. It's not a permanent subsidy. Shen Ye's face turned pale. Realizing he had been thoroughly duped, frustration was futile, and then it struck him. He had no idea how to contact Bai, who had promised to be available for inquiries, yet provided no contact information. Forget it. Shen Ye recalibrated his mindset and continued exploring. He clicked on the Resource Center. A grid of icons emerged, each representing a type of resource, with remaining stock displayed below. In the upper right corner was a refresh timer indicating 9 hours and 13 minutes left. IT likely refreshed every 24 hours. As he scrolled down, he discovered a plethora of available items, though most were grayed out. Only a few white items were clickable, but what he saw left him astonished. Besides the basic necessities, alcohol, food, he noted the following: 5.56 mm ammo box, 30 rounds. Price, 500 star coins note. Unenhanced, basic template 0.7.62 ammo box, 30 rounds. Price, 600 star coins note. Unenhanced. Basic template, linen bandage, quality, low, price, 1000 star coins note. Manufactured by a 2-star healer, Makar painkiller injection, quality, low, price, 2000 star coins. Shen Ye stared at these items, his expression a mix of disbelief and concern. These were all contraband. He felt a wave of anxiety. Was this app illegal? If he procured these goods and got caught, it would be disastrous. After careful consideration, he ultimately began placing orders. He added items he deemed likely to sell well to his cart. 5.56mm ammo box 1, 7.62 mm ammo box 1, linen bandage 1, folding butterfly knife 1, small interference black box 1, black beer case 10, Highland liquor case 5. The final total came to 35,201 star coins. Gritting his teeth, Shen Ye clicked to pay. A message popped up. Alliance Bank has successfully deducted funds. Shen Ye winced at the sting of the transaction. The interface then confirmed the payment, stating that delivery would occur within 3 days, courtesy of a reliable courier service. Congratulations, esteemed Mr. Shen Ye. You have successfully placed an order and earned 1 honor point. Only 1. How miserly. Shen Ye found himself in a state of resignation. With little else to occupy his time, curiosity compelled him to pull up the resource list and examine the array of gray icons. The sight nearly left him speechless. Cursed all quality, superior price, 500,000 star coins remarks. Crafted by a 5-star vengeful star warrior, its effects are remarkable. Do not experiment on oneself. GC high crystal detonation bomb quality, superior price, 200,000 star coins remarks. A wide-range destructive weapon produced by the Iron Tunnel Kingdom, effective within a radius of 500 by 500 meters. Powerful illusion bomb quality. Superior price. 500,000 star coins remarks. Manufactured by a 5-star illusion star warrior. As Shen Ye perused these items, he felt his mouth water. Indeed, the gray, restricted items were treasures of great worth. Subsequently, he clicked on the Intelligence Bureau. Aside from a solitary white button, all others were gray. The white button was for uploading information, accompanied by a small note stating that submissions would be reviewed by professionals within 72 hours. If deemed valid, rewards in the form of varying amounts of star coins and honor points would be granted. A friendly reminder cautioned against submitting false information. Exceeding 3 instances of falsehood would lead to being placed on a malicious upload list, incurring varying degrees of punishment. Shen Ye shook his head and clicked on the sharing pavilion. The result was a message. Dear Mr. Shen Ye, you must successfully advance to a formal supply contact in order to unlock this feature. AS for the Bounty Pavilion. He clicked on it only to discover it was utterly devoid of content, with a note indicating that no bounty tasks had been assigned to this pavilion. However, there was a purchase button. Upon clicking, his face darkened. To his utter disbelief, the lowest tier D-class bounty task required a staggering 10,000 star coins, with some even pricier. Robbery. Shen Ye's expression mirrored that of someone who had seen a ghost. He began to question whether this app was truly designed to serve them, or if they were merely at the service of the app. Why did everything require star coins, and why were the prices so exorbitant? With a deep breath, he resolved to examine the details once more, and the facts confirmed his initial impression. Additionally, these bounty tasks had expiration dates, typically 1 month, though some were shorter or longer. If not completed by the deadline, the tasks would be deemed failures, leading to certain penalties. Upon reading this, Shen Ye decisively abandoned further exploration. After all, whether anyone would patronize his tavern post-opening remained uncertain. Just as he was about to close the tavern application, he noticed a red on his profile picture. Curiosity piqued. He clicked on that, and a friendly reminder popped up. Outpost number 4444, under reconstruction. Danger level moderate. This outpost has been targeted by unidentified enemies. Over the past 2 years, 3 successive tavern masters have perished. Please exercise caution. Shen Ye shivered at this message. 3 tavern masters had been killed. How absurd. Regrettably, no one was available to respond to this query. However, Shen Ye's hand trembled as he fully opened the message, revealing a selection box. Would you like to purchase detailed information for a limited time discount of 999 star coins? A peculiar expression crossed Shen Ye's face. It felt akin to purchasing a mobile game package. Who developed the software? If they stood before him, he would undoubtedly give them a piece of his mind. Having been a reclusive individual, Shen Ye had seen through many tricks. He was not easily fooled, no way. Ding. Congratulations, you have successfully purchased exclusive intelligence. Chapter 10. The secret room. Having braced himself, he knew he had to be cautious, for his life was at stake. Soon, a detailed report appeared. Report number 4444. 5 years ago, established as part of the Star Tower expansion plan, this outpost was overseen by Miss Yi Ning, a 4-star warrior appointed by the Star Tower, following an attack by unidentified enemies. The outpost suffered severe damage, and Miss Yi Ning was declared missing for years, automatically presumed deceased. 6 months later, the Star Tower appointed a 3-star warrior, Shen Ye, as the new tavern master. In his second month of tenure, he was ambushed and killed in a second-floor room, with no substantial leads. 1 year later, the Star Tower appointed another 3-star warrior, Chen Duo, as tavern master. In the third month of his tenure, he was attacked at midnight. After a fierce battle, he succumbed in the third-floor corridor. Investigations concluded that the assailant was a warrior of the strength-based branch. As Shen Ye read this brief passage, he rubbed his forehead. 999 star coins had vanished for what amounted to a pile of nonsense, devoid of any substantial content. Never mind, out of sight, out of mind. He closed the tavern app, pondering. He suddenly realized a rather troublesome thought. If he was not mistaken, the first tavern master had likely perished in the locked room at the back, the second in the first room on the second floor, and the third on the third floor. Where would he reside? The basement. That notion was promptly dismissed. Having ventured down once, he found it dark, empty, and poorly ventilated. He would rather not meet his end there, with no one to recover his body. But if not the basement, where would be a more auspicious place to live? Suddenly, he recalled that the back room had yet to be tidied up. These past few days, he had been preoccupied with the front and neglected the rear. Since any place seemed inauspicious, he might as well opt for the back, where it would be quieter. Decision made. He proceeded without hesitation toward the backyard. The backyard was overgrown with weeds, which Shen Ye had not yet trimmed. He intended to attend to that when time permitted. Soon, he arrived at the front of the bungalow. Retrieving a key from his pocket to unlock the door, inside, furniture lay haphazardly strewn about, all fashioned from vintage mahogany. While the material was not of the finest quality, the design was quite appealing, suggesting that its previous owner had a discerning taste. The room's layout also leaned toward a vintage style. If he was correct, the individual named Yi Ning likely hailed from a nation with a penchant for traditional aesthetics. Soon, Shen Ye reached the master bedroom, pushing the door open. The sight that met him was one of disorder, with dust and cobwebs covering every surface. The bedroom was distinctly feminine, featuring a mahogany vanity with a broken mirror atop it. The bed was not of the conventional type, but rather a grand, canopied mahogany piece. When drawn, the canopy added an air of romance to the sleeping environment. After a brief examination, Shen Ye set to work. He began by moving out the chairs and smaller items one by one, then opened the vintage wardrobe, only to find it empty and coated in dust. Nothing remained, presumably taken by someone unknown. Judging by the signs of previous searches, it appeared this place had been thoroughly ransacked. Any valuable items had likely been removed. Shen Ye retrieved a hammer and pried out the nails securing the wardrobe. Dragging it to the doorway, the furniture was far too feminine for his needs. Next, he approached the vanity, gazing at the damaged mirror, realizing it served no purpose for him, as it had to go. As he reached out to move the vanity, he was taken aback. It seemed immovable. Connected? No, wait. Is it a mechanism? Ecstatic, Shen Ye muttered to himself, and he eagerly attempted to rotate the mirror. Alas, Shen Ye exerted all his strength. Yet it did not budge an inch. Stunned, he pondered whether his technique was flawed. Once more, With a mighty heave, he strained to twist the mirror, but it remained steadfast. Crack. The base of the mirror splintered. Sigh. Shen Ye felt utterly speechless. It turned out he had been toiling over a single piece of furniture. Realizing this, he resigned to abandon the mirror and began pushing the entire vanity. It was remarkably heavy. No wonder the old man at the furniture store had been so attached to these pieces. Their quality was indeed commendable. With a cacophony of scraping sounds, the vanity was gradually shoved toward the doorway until Shen Ye finally succeeded in pushing it outside. Panting heavily, he took a moment to rest, then grabbed a broom to sweep away the dust beneath the vanity. To his surprise, he discovered a small hole in the floor. Kneeling down, he peered into the hole and spotted a steel wire. Prompting an involuntary exclamation of surprise. What the heck? Shen Ye quickly rummaged through nearby items and tools, procuring tweezers to extract the wire inch by inch, then securing it to a wooden stick. With a sudden pull, crack, a dull thud resonated. Shen Ye turned to look at the bed, only to see the slats of the wooden bed frame had been dislodged. Success. Shen Ye's eyes widened, his heart racing with excitement. Fate had smiled upon him, and he had stumbled upon such a clutch scenario. His anticipation grew as he cautiously approached. Below lay a miniature secret room, complete with a ladder for descent. The mechanism was cleverly designed. When in use, one could simply draw the canopy, creating the illusion that someone was asleep. As for the steel wire initiating the mechanism, Shen Ye had noted earlier that it had likely been tampered with. If all goes as expected, that steel wire should be connected to the vanity mirror, for it has been twisted and rendered non-functional. No matter how hard he tries, there will be no response. The destruction appears to have been intentional, likely to prevent anyone from discovering the entrance to the secret mechanism. If I am not mistaken, there should also be a mechanism for exit inside. Furthermore, Shen Ye noticed the original position of the damaged rosewood mirror. Had the surface not been broken, it would have faced directly towards the main entrance. In such a case, if anyone were to stealthily open the door, they would be immediately detected. Shen Ye, filled with excitement, leaned down. This was his first encounter with a secret chamber, a veritable hidden space, and he couldn't help but wonder how grand or enigmatic it might be. Suddenly, he felt a wave of nausea wash over him, covering his mouth to suppress the urge to vomit. What a foul odor! He turned away, gasping for fresh air. After a moment, he regained his composure and quietly gazed at the entrance to the secret passage. Lost in contemplation, it should be about time. After a prolonged moment, Shen Ye gritted his teeth and descended the staircase. Chapter 11. Trust soon. Shen Ye arrived in a dim, damp, small secret chamber, overrun with dark green moss. The air thick with the stench of decay. To put it bluntly, it resembled a sewer, and Shen Ye began to question whether he might succumb to poisoning. Struggling against his nausea, he meticulously examined the chamber. It wasn't long before he discovered the source of the foul odor. In the corner of the dimly lit room lay a female corpse, grotesquely decomposed and exhibiting a greenish hue. Shen Ye was instantly horrified. Instinctively taking a step back, his heart raced, pounding furiously. Gradually, he regained his calm, his mind racing. If he wasn't mistaken, the body in the corner belonged to the missing Miss Yi Ning. It appeared she had succumbed to poisoning or severe injuries. Suddenly, his eyes widened as he noticed a glimmer of blue starlight emanating from her chest. A rare stone. Shen Ye refrained from approaching hastily. Instead, he crawled back out, donning several layers of work masks and gloves before re-entering the chamber. He cautiously approached, quickly reaching the side of the body. He could assert with complete certainty that this was indeed the rare stone, a blue-grade one at that. However, Shen Ye's attention swiftly shifted from the stone to the ground, where a wooden box lay. After a moment's hesitation, he bent down to retrieve the box, carefully opening it. To his astonishment, inside was a letter. After some deliberation, he tore open the envelope and extracted the contents. Greetings. Though I do not know your identity, if I am not mistaken, you are an enforcer dispatched by the Star Tower. By the time you read this letter, I should, unfortunately, be deceased. To be brief, under the orders of the Star Tower. I have sheltered an injured enforcer. However, after a brief respite at an inn, that enforcer did not linger but entrusted me with a box containing a rare stone for safekeeping to be submitted to the Star Tower. Regrettably, I have been targeted. I have a premonition that I am doomed, for my pursuers are formidable. Therefore, I have prepared my last words. The rare stone I safeguarded is hidden behind me. I implore you, upon delivering it to the Star Tower, to convey my request. I beseech the tower to care for my ailing daughter, Yi Han, in light of my diligent service. We, a mother and daughter, wander alone in the autumn star. Utterly reliant on the organization, I hope they can tend to my gravely ill child, allowing me, Yi Ning, to rest in peace in the afterlife and to serve the Star Tower once more in my next life. I am immensely grateful. After reading the contents, Shen Ye exhaled deeply, finally grasping the situation. One could not help but admire Miss Yi Ning. She was indeed a remarkable woman, astute and decisive, aware of her impending demise. She had meticulously arranged everything. Even in death, her thoughts remained with her ailing daughter. Shen Ye knelt, reaching toward the wall behind the corpse, and indeed felt a box. His expression brightened as he retrieved it. It was an ancient-looking box, imbued with the weight of time. Upon opening it, he beheld a dull, unremarkable rare stone, clearly untouched and of uncertain quality. Pondering this stone, Shen Ye stroked his chin. Turning it over to the Star Tower was out of the question. Such a notion was utterly impossible. Although he too was a sort of enforcer, he was compelled into it, only submitting when he was well fed. If he were to blame anyone, it would be that white supervisor who had pushed him repeatedly, treating it all as interest. Yet, gazing at Yi Ning, he spoke. Though we are strangers, it matters not. I, Shen Ye, am not one to be avaricious. I shall accept this rare stone. In return, I will fulfill your remaining wishes. I will ensure that the rare stone, along with the medicines and tokens you have entrusted to me, reaches your daughter. With that, Shen Ye bowed to Yi Ning's corpse, despite their lack of acquaintance. Her professional integrity and maternal devotion filled him with admiration. Then, he lowered his gaze back to the stone within the box, feeling a conflict within himself. After calming down, he found himself grappling with indecision. The stone appeared ordinary to the naked eye, unactivated, but once activated, its true essence and quality would reveal themselves. In simpler terms, this rare stone was akin to an unopened gift. Its contents could be anything. However, activation was no simple feat. Generally, activating a rare stone required certain conditions to be met, the most crucial being compatibility. Only when the compatibility reached a certain threshold could a rare stone be activated. Furthermore, the higher the compatibility, the greater the stone's effectiveness and power, akin to skill proficiency. Yet, not all rare stones were docile. Should one encounter a combat-oriented stone of high quality, the backlash could be severe. Especially with malevolent stones, if one could not control it, the outcome would be dire, either crippling or death. Thus, activating a rare stone typically necessitated the presence of a mentor or companion in case of loss of control. The problem was that Shen Ye had no one to assist him. This was not his home. Moreover, this particular stone was designated by the Star Tower. If he did not activate it promptly, he risked exposure. Most crucially, this unactivated rare stone was an overwhelming temptation for Shen Ye. He had longed to possess a rare stone. Of course, that other stone he had was a different matter altogether. It was practically a curse, despite its enormous size and unknown dark purple quality, and no matter how he tried to stimulate it, it remained unresponsive, akin to a stone in a cesspool, hard and foul. For a time, he even attempted to discard it, hoping it might serve some purpose, yet it remained useless. Taking a deep breath, Shen Ye resolved to take a chance. Slowly, he extended his hand, grasping the inconspicuous rare stone. Concentrating his meager star power to infuse it, the stone began to emit a faint orange-blue glow. Shen Ye inhaled sharply, his blood surging. Could it be? Was he truly compatible? His heart raced with joy as he blinked, checking for any signs of error. But when he opened his eyes, he froze. Where was the rare stone? He stared at his empty hand. No way. Shen Ye immediately scanned the floor and surroundings, searching for the stone. But despite his frantic efforts, he could not locate it. Chapter 12. The Rare Stone. 1,000 transformations in an instant. Shen Ye felt a surge of panic. He became acutely aware of his surroundings. Even calling out in a mock-threatening tone, "Who's there?" He worried that a skilled individual might have infiltrated and stolen his rare stone, but the only response was the echo of his own voice. After a while, silence reigned once more. Shen Ye felt utterly bewildered. What on earth was happening? Where was the rare stone? At that moment, Shen Ye's gaze inadvertently fell upon the blue extraordinary stone adorning Yi Ning's body. Hastily, he crouched down, extended his hand, and retrieved it, gripping it tightly to prevent its loss. Should it slip away once more, there would be no way to return it, resulting in a considerable embarrassment. As he held it. However, Shen Ye suddenly sensed something amiss. His palm felt empty. His lips twitched uncontrollably as he lowered his gaze to his clenched fist, swallowing hard before slowly relaxing his grip. It was vacant. Nothing remained. Shen Ye stood there, petrified, as if struck by a bolt from the blue. It was gone, over. In that instant, a sudden realization struck him, prompting him to sit on the ground and close his eyes. In an instant, the surroundings faded into nothingness. Shen Ye found himself within his inner world. At the center of this realm floated a colossal stone, towering to great heights, emanating a faint purple glow. Its surface riddled with pits and hollows. Damn it, this must be your doing, speak up. Is this your trick? Shen Ye raged at the stone, overwhelmed with confusion and anger. It was no wonder, for every time he cultivated with this stone, it voraciously absorbed his star power. Now that he had come across this extraordinary stone, and with such a bizarre turn of events, it was evident that it was entangled in the matter. Just as Shen Ye vented his frustrations, a glimmer of light suddenly caught his eye. His heart raced, and he hurried towards the illumination. He arrived at the side of the pockmarked extraordinary stone and discovered a diamond-shaped gem radiating orange and blue hues nestled within a hollow. "Oh my, this is truly legendary. I've struck gold," Shen Ye exclaimed, his joy akin to winning a lottery. After a prolonged period of ecstatic outburst, he reached out to pry the gem free. So tight, no way. His heart sank as he realized it was stuck. He had initially been elated, but now despair settled in, and an ominous premonition gripped him. Shen Ye forsook the legendary gem, opting instead to search for the blue-quality stone. After a considerable time, he located the blue extraordinary stone in an inconspicuous corner at the bottom. Its interior glowed a fierce red, suggesting a strong affinity for fire elements. Without hesitation, he began to pry it loose. Ouch. Shen Ye strained to remove it, his face flushed with exertion as he shifted positions desperately. Come down already. An hour passed, then 2. Eventually, he collapsed in his inner world, staring blankly at the blue extraordinary stone. It was hopeless. He could not extract it. He felt like smashing his own golden finger. What a frustrating ordeal. It demanded everything, his star power and the extraordinary stone itself, with no return. The more he pondered, the more infuriated he became. In a fit of rage, he kicked the massive stone. Ouch. Shen Ye hopped about, clutching his foot. Despite being in his inner world, the sensation of pain was all too real. Typically, entering this mental realm was a skill possessed by 7-star warriors, and Shen Ye was unsure how he had acquired it. He simply willed himself in. Ultimately, he had to confront the tearful reality that the extraordinary stone could not be retrieved, let alone returned. It was a slap in the face, robbing him of any joy. Setting aside the notion that the fire-type stone was genuinely unremovable, he found himself in a classic scenario of losing both fortune and opportunity. The more he thought about it, the more enraged he became. Observing his birthstone, he pondered its true capabilities. Wait a moment. If he recalled correctly, typically, a person could only bond with a single extraordinary stone. Even if one obtained a higher-grade stone, it would replace the previous one, except for a select few who could wield multiple stones. Most were limited to one each. Shen Ye scrutinized his birthstone, his expression shifting as he considered that perhaps it was not entirely useless. It could capture other extraordinary stones and possibly had further functions, with this thought igniting a flicker of hope within him. He began to circle the massive stone, yet still, he could discern nothing of significance. Slowly, he reached out to place his hand on the stone, treating it as a last-ditch effort. He gradually infused it with star power. The stone reacted as if a switch had been flipped, voraciously drawing in his energy. Shen Ye's mind reeled. What was happening? Yet, an inexplicable sensation emerged, revealing a bifurcation before him, leading in two directions. One path led to the legendary extraordinary stone, while the other was directed towards the blue-quality stone. Had he activated it, Shen Ye attempted to choose the route to the legendary stone. A peculiar feeling welled up inside him, and unfamiliar information flooded his mind about the legendary stone, along with its abilities, as if it were innately his to command with complete mastery. Transformative stone. Unique ability stage 1. Bond level 60 disguise. Can mimic the appearance, voice, and attire of any desired target. Unique ability stage 2. Bond level 80,000 faces. Can simultaneously embody thousands of personas, each with different expressions and appearances, though the duration is limited and tied to the star power provided. Legendary ability stage 3. Bond level 100 avatar. Can temporarily transform into another person, stealing a portion of their abilities for complete imitation, requiring contact with any part of their body. Before Shen Ye could fully comprehend this, the abilities of the transformative stone activated. He exited the inner world only to find his body beginning to soften, akin to a melting cake, collapsing inward. For a moment, his mind went blank, and as he regained his wits, panic set in. The softening accelerated. Come on, you can do this, Shen Ye urged himself, firmly believing he could succeed. After a brilliant flash of white light, a gelatinous mass resembling slime writhed on the ground as he lamented, I will not concede to becoming this thing. Purely a mistake. Shen Ye desperately sought to revert back, but his body felt as if it had been hollowed out. His meager star power was barely sufficient to initiate the transformation, yet inadequate for completion. Several hours later, after regaining some star power, a burst of light occurred. Chapter 13. Delivery at last. Shen Ye shed his disguise, clutching his waist, feeling like a limp fish sprawled on the ground, utterly exhausted. After a deep sigh, he lifted his head to gaze at Yining. His head throbbed anew. The fire element extraordinary stone had been consumed by him, leaving him with nothing to return to her daughter. After a moment of contemplation, Shen Ye composed himself and approached Yining's lifeless form, clearing his throat to explain, I apologize. The extraordinary stone was swallowed by mine, and I currently cannot find a way to extract it. However, rest assured, once I discover a method, I will retrieve it and return it. If I cannot find a solution, I will offer a comparable extraordinary stone in its place. As for the other items, you need not worry. They are assured. Having expressed his apology, Shen Ye promptly began searching for the items Yining had intended to pass on. Soon, he discovered an unlocked small box in a corner of the secret chamber. Upon opening it, he found it filled with boxes of medicines, approximately 10 boxes. Additionally, a delicate silver hairpin and a sealed letter addressed to dear Yi Han were nestled within. These items were undoubtedly what he sought. Shen Ye picked up one box of medicine, scrutinizing it closely. Panluo Kani substance, ingredients, confidential, effects, confidential, contraindications, unknown, shelf life, 100 years. Shen Ye was left utterly bewildered. What kind of absurd medicine was this? A product without a trace of accountability. Who developed such a formidable concoction? After a considerable while, Shen Ye finally emerged from the secret chamber, seizing the opportunity when no one was around. He grabbed a shovel and hurried to a corner of the yard, digging with all his might. As night fell, he had excavated a pit approximately 5 to 6 meters deep. Shen Ye dashed to the front of the shop, grabbing his bedsheet before rushing into the backyard. Moments later, he emerged, carefully cradling the body wrapped in the sheet and placing it gently into the deep pit. He then filled the hole back in and piled the old furniture he had unearthed on top as a cover, ensuring it would not be discovered. Regardless of the circumstances, that room would be where he slept, and he certainly could not rest atop a corpse, moreover, as the deceased must be treated with utmost respect. Shen Ye resolved to give them a proper burial. Additionally, the secret room required thorough cleaning, for it was overwhelmingly foul. After completing the burial, Shen Ye carried buckets of water and fresheners into the room, commencing a vigorous scrubbing session that lasted through the night. By the break of dawn, Shen Ye lay in the tavern's hall, deep in slumber. Suddenly, a cacophony of harsh knocking reverberated through the air. Shen Ye, bleary-eyed and lethargic, trudged to the door. Having spent the previous night cleaning until the early hours, his back ached painfully. He had intended to rest for a while before resuming his cleaning, but the thought of being discovered midway through filled him with dread. It would be as if he had jumped into the Yellow River and could not wash himself clean. Thus, Shen Ye gritted his teeth and finished the task, managing to eliminate all potential hazards. "Oh, it's you," Shen Ye exclaimed, gazing at the furniture store owner who stood before him. Stifling a yawn, "Young man, you must take care of your health. Heed my advice. Turning back is a wise choice." The elderly man lamented with a hint of nostalgia. "Go away. Who would wish to be like you?" Shen Ye's face twitched in annoyance, suspecting the old man was taking advantage of his predicament. "Ahem, the customer is always right. I shall not hold your rudeness against you," Shen Ye retorted, his patience wearing thin. "Where are my furniture pieces? They have all been delivered." The old man gestured towards the transport vehicle behind him. "And the workers?" Shen Ye blinked, inquiring, "What workers?" "The unloading crew, of course. Do you expect to manage it all by yourself? Isn't that your job as a young man? You need to exercise." The elderly man smiled, attempting to sound benevolent. "How absurd, ahem. Young man, look at me. I am an old man. Are you truly heartless enough to make me, a frail elder, carry all this furniture alone, who just claimed to be in perfect health?" Shen Ye shot back, his irritation palpable. "I don't recall saying that." The old man feigned deafness. "Goodbye." Shen Ye took a step back and, without a second thought, prepared to shut the door. An unexpected turn. The old man, who had previously appeared feeble, swiftly pressed his hand against the door, smiling broadly at Shen Ye. "Youth, let us speak amicably. There is nothing to discuss. Come now, let us negotiate." "And negotiations." Shen Ye remained resolute, adhering to his principle of not being morally bound by those lacking integrity. He was not about to open the door. Fortunately, he had chosen cash on delivery. "All right, you win." The old man stepped aside, waving towards the corner. "You lot, get to work." Instantly, 3 burly men clad in short-sleeved shirts dashed out, their faces beaming with enthusiasm. "100 star coins each." "Move." "Understood," they chorused, promptly commencing the unloading process. Shen Ye stood nearby, supervising and directing them as they placed the furniture in designated spots. Be careful. After a morning of toil, all the furniture was finally inside. The once empty store now radiated the unique ambience of a tavern, albeit with a slightly lower quality. Nevertheless, it was beginning to take shape. "How do you find it, young brother? Are you satisfied?" The old man approached Shen Ye, rubbing his fingers together with glee. Shen Ye retrieved a thick wad of 1,000-star coin bills from his pocket, counting out 40 notes and handing them over to the old man. "Splendid. By the way, young brother, have you considered those additional pieces of furniture?" The old man, now grinning from ear to ear after receiving the payment, inquired. "Not interested," Shen Ye replied curtly, his mind slightly shifting. He had initially intended to sell those pieces. However, having discovered the secret room, where the vanity was part of a mechanism, selling it would pose a significant risk should someone uncover its secrets. Thus, he resolved to dismantle those pieces into planks for firewood instead. "All right, if you change your mind, do remember to seek me out. I'm off now." The old man reluctantly bade farewell to Shen Ye. Go on," Shen Ye yawned, ushering him out, as he felt utterly exhausted and eager to return to his slumber. Seeing no hope of persuasion, the old man departed begrudgingly, just as Shen Ye was about to close the door. A delivery vehicle screeched to a halt precisely at the entrance. The door swung open, revealing a middle-aged man in a t-shirt emblazoned with the Nadu Tong logo, a cigarette dangling from his mouth as he jumped down. Delivery. Shen Ye was momentarily taken aback. "Did I ask this for me? Who else could it possibly be?" The middle-aged man replied, cigarette in tow, as he opened the back of the vehicle and began unloading. Box after box of neatly packed parcels was lowered. In no time, a stack of delivery boxes loomed before Shen Ye. With astonishing speed, the man finished unloading, climbed back into his vehicle, and sped away, leaving Shen Ye standing there in a state of confusion. "Is this even allowed? I haven't even checked the goods or signed for them." Ding dong. A crisp notification chimed. Shen Ye glanced at his phone. "Congratulations. Delivery successful," he sighed, resigning himself to the fact that the app was unreliable. As long as the goods had arrived, he could begin his work. Chapter 14. Grand opening. Shen Ye commenced moving the delivery boxes inside, some light, some heavy, but the quantity was substantial, after over an hour of effort. He finally finished, closed the door, and began unpacking the boxes. A sense of guilt washed over him, akin to that of a thief, rendering him uneasy. Soon, the first box was opened, revealing a stash of dark beer. Gao Luan liquor. Dark beer, dark beer. Upon reaching the 10th box, he uncovered more significant items: ammunition boxes, butterfly knives, and similar goods. Shen Ye stroked his chin, pondering briefly before relocating these peculiar items to the back room. While setting aside 2 boxes of dark beer and Gao Luan liquor to display on the bar and cabinet, once everything was arranged, Shen Ye nodded in satisfaction. It was nearly complete. He could officially open tomorrow. Even if the 7-day period hadn't elapsed yet, he preferred to commence early to avoid unforeseen complications. At this stage, securing subsidies was paramount. After completing all tasks, Shen Ye returned to the back room. Having organized it the previous day, he now resided there. Though he felt somewhat out of place, he could gradually acclimate. Shen Ye retrieved a portable notebook from his suitcase, his prized possession, and perhaps the most valuable item he owned. He then boiled a kettle of water and prepared a bucket of instant noodles. Interestingly, this world boasted not only instant noodles, but also an array of popular flavors. As he slurped his noodles, Shen Ye powered on his computer to browse the internet. He attempted to search for Pan-Luo-Ka-Ni-Su, a drug he needed to understand its purpose and the patients it served. If time permitted, he could wait until he obtained similar rare stones to send alongside. If urgency required, he would need to embark on a journey sooner. Suddenly, Shen Ye was taken aback by the search results. He had anticipated difficulty in finding information, yet he stumbled upon a plethora of data concerning the drug. Most of it centered around buying and selling. After a cursory glance, he recognized that the majority were likely scams. He promptly disregarded those entries and sought valuable information to comprehend the drug's function. Priceless medication, Pan-Luo-Ka-Ni-Su, each box fluctuating around 200,000 star coins, is a long-term special treatment for blood contamination diseases. Additionally, it is classified as a controlled substance, making it inaccessible to the average person, hence the exorbitant black market price. Wow, Shen Ye gasped, realizing the enormity of his possession. He had 10 boxes, equating to over 2 million star coins, a considerable fortune indeed. Blood contamination disease. Why does that sound so familiar? Suddenly, it dawned on him that this was not merely a disease name but a broader term. This medication was intended for survivors who had been attacked by rogue creatures from various races and managed to live. It served to suppress alien contamination, which explained its regulation and high cost. If this was indeed the case, the implications were dire. Should the condition remain unchecked, the outcome could be fatal or, worse, lead to mutation into a half-human, half-monster form. He had to rush to deliver this to someone named Yi Han. Although considerable time had passed, there might still be a glimmer of hope for her survival. Just as Shen Ye stood up, hesitating briefly, he sat back down with a slap to his forehead. He had forgotten the most crucial detail. Qiuji City was neither small nor large, with a permanent population of 50 million. Where would he even begin to search? If the Star Tower were to look for her, it would be simple. However, for him, it posed a significant challenge. It seemed he would have to delay matters for now. Figuring out how to ascertain her identity before attempting to deliver the medication. Furthermore, one must act discreetly, lest they reveal their true identity, for that would lead to complications. With a long exhale, Shen Ye resumed his consumption of instant noodles. The following day, Shen Ye stood at the entrance, gazing at his tavern while stroking his chin, lost in profound contemplation. Today marked the inaugural day of operations, although as a stronghold of the Star Tower. There was no need for fanfare or celebratory fireworks. Nonetheless, Shen Ye felt that something was amiss. How could he have forgotten about the signboard? A tavern cannot exist without a name. He pondered this dilemma. He realized that the previous sign had been irreparably damaged and was no longer usable, leaving him at a loss as to where to procure a new one. Moreover, acquiring a signboard would incur expenses, further straining his already meager finances. To make matters worse, a custom-made sign would take too long to arrange. Shen Ye's expression turned troubled until a sudden thought struck him. He hurriedly dashed into the tavern. Before long, he emerged, clutching a rectangular wooden board and a hammer. He positioned the board vertically against the left wall of the entrance, adjusting it until he expended some effort to nail the sign into place beside the door. It was a temporary solution, but what name should he bestow upon it? Shen Ye glanced around, feeling perplexed. Naming a business was notoriously tricky, as an ill-chosen name could adversely affect trade, while an overly ostentatious one could draw unwarranted attention. Flourishing and prosperous? That seemed a bit tacky. Yet, it did carry a positive connotation. As Shen Ye continued to muse aloud, he became increasingly conflicted until a spark of inspiration illuminated his eyes. He then retrieved a butterfly knife from his pocket and began to etch letters upon the wooden board in a somewhat uneven manner. Red Flower Tavern. Upon completing the inscription, Shen Ye found himself increasingly satisfied with the name. It resonated deeply with his current sentiments. He felt compelled. However, it still lacked something essential. He subsequently inscribed 4 minuscule characters at the bottom of the sign. Grand opening. Beholding the final product, a proud smile spread across Shen Ye's face. It's done. He then slightly ajar the tavern door. It was not that Shen Ye was disinterested in running a proper business. Rather, the tavern was ill-prepared for patrons, setting aside the lack of food and necessities. Even the rooms remained unkempt. If someone were to arrive, it would undoubtedly create a predicament. Thus, he decided to keep the lettering small and the door ajar for the time being. Just to maintain appearances and secure his subsidies, Shen Ye picked up his phone and entered the tavern, adjusting his profile status to read, Grand opening. Under review. A prompt soon appeared. What requires approval? How tedious, Shen Ye expressed, slightly taken aback. Not tedious at all. A familiar voice chimed from behind. Shen Ye turned around with an irritated glare towards the suddenly appearing supervisor retorting, Oh, you still have the audacity to show up. How could I not? The tavern is open now, isn't it? Supervisor replied with a cheerful smile. Yes, it is open. Shen Ye responded somewhat stiffly. Supervisor approached to inspect the tavern, only to be momentarily stunned. He turned to Shen Ye. Are you certain it's open? Where's the sign? To the left. Fine. I suppose that can be considered somewhat acceptable, but what about the grand opening banner? What do we need that for? I made it quite clear. Where did you make it clear? I certainly didn't see it right here. Shen Ye pointed to the minuscule characters spelling out grand opening. Chapter 15. Supervisor Bai's expression twitched with disbelief. Even he, with his typically good-natured demeanor, could not help but issue a warning to Shen Ye. Shen Ye, don't jest with me. This isn't a game. Is this what you call an opening? Are you making a fool of me? Oh please, you started this. How did the permanent subsidy turn into a 3-year one? Shen Ye retorted without reservation. Supervisor appeared somewhat surprised that Shen Ye had caught on so swiftly. He instantly donned a radiant smile, cheerfully explaining, it's just that there are regulations from above. Regulations? Nonsense. This is fraud. Change it back immediately, or I will file a complaint against you, Shen Ye warned, his tone sharp. Please, let's discuss this calmly. It's merely a misunderstanding. Supervisor Bai's expression was one of exaggerated concern. A complaint would spell trouble. What misunderstanding? My eyesight is perfectly fine. Sometimes what you see isn't the whole truth. Yes, the rookie subsidy is indeed for 3 years. However, once the period concludes, I have faith that with Mr. Shen's talents, you will certainly achieve extraordinary results, and then you won't be receiving a D-class subsidy anymore, but rather something far superior. I believe you when pigs fly. Do you think I would trust you? Stop shifting the topic, Shen Ye replied tersely, unfazed by Supervisor Bai's elaborate explanations. Supervisor Bai, rendered speechless by Shen Ye's retorts, replied helplessly, since you insist, let's negotiate. And let's not forget that the 3-year subsidy was something I had to beg for on your behalf. You won't even need to seek out customers for this tavern. They will come to you of their own accord. Simply sell anything, and you will earn a profit. Why concern yourself with those subsidies? I'm doing this for your own good, and yet you blame me. All right, you have a point. I won't hold it against you. Just get my approval through, and we can consider this matter settled. In truth. Shen Ye had no intention of stubbornly arguing with Supervisor Bai. He had already profited handsomely, especially from those 2 peculiar stones. Supervisor Bai exhaled deeply and addressed Shen Ye. Very well, I will approve your request. But you must ensure everything is in order. Don't let anything be lacking, or it could lead to complaints. Rest assured, there's no need for concern. Shen Ye was unfazed by this issue. Then I shall take my leave. Do your best, Supervisor Bai said, hastily departing without the slightest inclination to linger. As Shen Ye watched Supervisor Bai retreat into the distance, he returned to the bar and sat down, barely settling in when a text message popped up. Congratulations, your application has been approved, and you are officially open for business. Wishing you great success. Shen Ye examined the congratulatory message, scrutinizing it several times but finding no hint of benefits, as expected. The stinginess was unwavering. Propping his chin with one hand, Shen Ye opened the tavern app to investigate any changes following the successful grand opening. After extensive perusal, he felt a twinge of disappointment. There were no alterations in functionality. It remained precisely as it had been before, revealing that no significant changes would occur until after the probationary period had elapsed. The wait for customers was often the most tedious and tiresome time. Although Shen Ye did not intend to serve patrons just yet, he could not help but feel a glimmer of anticipation regarding Supervisor Bai's words, if customers were to arrive on the very first day. That would indeed be remarkable. Alas, reality often proved to be quite harsh. Shen Ye sat for the entirety of the day, not encountering a single soul. Soon, the night descended, and as Shen Ye prepared to close the door, he hesitated. Wouldn't the tavern be open until midnight? It seemed that morning hours were optional. With this thought in mind, Shen Ye hurriedly opened the tavern app to check. The official operating hours were from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. But these were merely guidelines, allowing the owners to extend or shorten hours at their discretion. However, there was an enticing reward listed. Operating for 90 consecutive days would yield an additional 10 honor points. Contemplating this information, Shen Ye mused that if he were to put in the effort, it might not be impossible to exit the probationary period within a year or two. Fine, let South keep the place open a bit longer. After all, it's the first day of operations. I shall welcome good fortune. Shen Ye encouraged himself. At that moment, the slightly ajar door creaked, and a gentle breeze wafted in. Drip, drip, drip. Raindrops began to fall outside. The sound of the rain was quite soothing. Yet it likely meant even fewer customers. Shen Ye rested his chin in his hand, languidly waiting, soon growing drowsy, his eyelids nearly closing in a hazy stupor. He lost track of time. Suddenly, the tavern door swung open, and a man and woman entered together. What a dreadful weather. Rainfall without warning. A man, I don't mind, but let us hope Miss Sue doesn't get drenched. That's a trivial matter. How can you say that? What if she catches a cold because of it? I would feel immense pain and guilt, but rest assured, Miss Sue, we have now arrived at the tavern. As the conversation flowed, the 2 individuals approached the bar counter. At that moment, Shen Ye's drowsy head was nearly crashing onto the table. Wake up, boss. Shen Ye lifted his head, groggily regaining consciousness, and slowly began to discern the features of the 2 figures before him, which left him momentarily stunned. The one calling out to Shen Ye was a remarkably young man, clad in exceptionally fashionable attire, his hair meticulously styled, and his handsome visage could only be described as that of a quintessential pretty boy. A compliment rather than a derogation. Beside him stood a woman draped in a gray trench coat, her beauty and poise causing Shen Ye to momentarily lose his bearings. Her lustrous, slightly damp black hair was elegantly pinned up, her eyes as clear as tranquil lakes, and beneath a finely sculpted nose lay cherry-red lips, her features exquisitely striking. She gracefully unfastened her gray trench coat, setting it aside. "Hey, boss," the young man exclaimed, irked. Shen Ye snapped back to reality. Directing his gaze towards the youth, "Stop daydreaming, bring me everything delicious you have, and 2 bottles of good red wine. If you have that one called Romantai, that would be splendid. Don't hold back. Money is no object." "We don't have it," Shen Ye replied curtly, "and oh Romantai, then bring me the finest red wine. We don't have that either," Shen Ye reiterated. "Wait a minute, brother. We're on the same side here. Understand? I assure you, we want to run off without paying. We don't have it." Shen Ye repeated his words. "All right, fine. If there's nothing, at least bring us the best food. Surely you have that. We don't have that either." Shen Ye maintained a facade of calmness. "You." The young man was left speechless for a moment. The woman named Su Er calmly interjected, "Wang Qi, if there's nothing, let it be, and I'm not particularly hungry anyway." Since Su Er had spoken, Wang Qi pressed, "So what do you have that we can eat?" Shen Ye bent down to rummage beneath the counter, and upon rising, he slapped 2 buckets of instant noodles onto the bar. "Here you go." Wang Qi stared blankly at the 2 buckets of noodles, looking at Shen Ye as if he were a fool. Even Su Er was somewhat taken aback. Chapter 16. This will suffice. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. "Are you kidding me?" Wang Qi exclaimed in a fit of rage, eye in his eyes. This was clearly a deliberate act. How could there be nothing when he was asking for something? "We don't have it," Shen Ye replied, bracing himself. Just as Wang Qi was about to erupt, Su Er calmly addressed Shen Ye. "If there's nothing, then surely there's a place to rest." Well, Shen Ye was momentarily stumped. "Don't you tell me there isn't one?" Wang Qi's face darkened, resembling charcoal. "There is, but the issue is that there are no blankets or sheets, just a simple bed. Are you sure you want to stay?" Shen Ye blinked at the 2 of them, genuinely surprised that guests had arrived, especially with a request to stay overnight. "Are you joking with us?" Wang Qi retorted incredulously. "Not at all." Shen Ye coughed lightly in response. "Whatever we ask for, you don't have. Believe me, I can file a complaint against you." Wang Qi's expression faltered. "Go ahead. Feel free to complain," Shen Ye replied with a smile, utterly unconcerned about any potential complaints. He had never intended to run this establishment in the first place. After all, he was already financially secure, and if he got shut down now due to a complaint, it would be a welcome release. After hearing Shen Ye's reply, Wang Qi pointed at him, stammering you at that moment. Tang Su calmly said to Shen Ye, "If there's nothing else, we'll take 2 rooms." Hearing the words of the beautiful woman before him, Shen Ye's exterior remained composed, yet internally he was quite astonished. This was acceptable. Naturally, Shen Ye, though surprised, did not pry further. If his memory served him correctly, the first rule as an innkeeper was to never refuse service to members of the Star Tower. In fact, he had been observing the 2 before him. Though both were members of the Star Tower, their statuses were distinctly different. Despite their lack of obvious insignia, Shen Ye recognized them. For instance, Wang Qi was likely a night enforcer, as he spent most of his time operating in darkness, resulting in a nocturnal lifestyle that left him with pale skin, pale to the point of being sickly. This was also why Shen Ye had instinctively considered him a pretty boy. It was no idle remark. Moreover, if he was not mistaken, he was probably a highly ranked night enforcer. Dio not asked Shen Ye how he knew. Just the mention of that absurdly priced Romantai red wine was enough for him to make the deduction. A bottle costs 200,000 star coins, and that was just the cost price. One could only imagine how wealthy this fellow must be, so he was certainly no lowly figured. As for the woman beside him, while her aura was well concealed and she exuded a gentle demeanor lacking in ostentation, Shen Ye noted that upon unfastening her gray trench coat, there was a symbol of judgment hidden within. If he were to guess, she was likely one of the inquisitors under the Star Tower's command. All right, rooms 201 and 202 upstairs. Each room is 1,000 star coins per day. The door is unlocked. You can head up directly. Thank you, we'll take these 2 buckets of instant noodles as well. And could you bring us 2 bottles of dark beer? Tang Su courteously requested. And oh problem, the total comes to 2,050. Shen Ye retrieved 2 bottles of dark beer from behind the counter and handed them over, while also producing a kettle of hot water from beneath the counter. Wang Qi refrained from losing his temper. Courtesy of Su Er's presence, moreover, this was a tavern stronghold. Causing a ruckus here would have dire consequences. Though they had entered the City of Autumn, they found themselves in the outermost region, a place rife with danger. Given their peculiar circumstances, they were reluctant to stay at a hotel, and even more so to eat at an outside restaurant, as nobody could predict if they would encounter trouble. In Su Er's eyes, the instant noodles presented by the innkeeper appeared cleaner than anything else. As for the price, 1,000 star coins for a night's stay was considered standard. Although the amenities were lacking, they had never cared much for such things. Their only concern was whether they could rest peacefully. Reluctantly, Wang Qi extracted 2,100 star coins from his pocket and slapped them on the table. Shen Ye promptly collected the money and handed Wang Qi a 50-star coin change with a complete shift in demeanor. After all, the customer is king. This had always been Shen Ye's principle, especially when dealing with paying customers. As for his previous service, that had been due to genuine constraints, he had nothing to offer and could only respond honestly. Never expecting to make a sale. Thank you for your patronage. Here is your change. Please keep it safe. Wang Qi's lips twitched as he regarded Shen Ye with a strange look, wondering if this fellow was a lunatic. How could he be so peculiar? Just moments ago, he seemed indifferent, unafraid of complaints, yet now he was exceedingly warm, causing Wang Qi to feel uneasy. Soon, the instant noodles were ready, and the two began to eat. Wang Qi, while chewing, remarked to Su Er, "Thanks to you, Su Er, I wouldn't have known what to do otherwise. Once we return and wrap things up, I'll be sure to repay you properly." And also, Shen Ye, maintaining a facade of nonchalance, couldn't help but perk up his ears. He had never been one to discriminate when it came to eavesdropping, especially when it was free entertainment. Enough talking. "Eat your noodles," Su Er calmly interrupted Wang Qi, cutting him off. Wang Qi quickly realized his blunder and promptly closed his mouth, mentally cursing, "Damn this innkeeper." Shen Ye couldn't resist sneezing. Rubbing his nose, he wondered if he had caught a chill or if someone was speaking ill of him. Instinctively, he glanced at Wang Qi, who, sensing Shen Ye's gaze, feigned ignorance and continued to eat, internally berating himself. What the hell? Is this guy really that perceptive? Does he possess some mind-reading ability? How could he pick up on my thoughts so easily? That shouldn't be possible. Furthermore, this guy conceals his aura so well. I can barely sense any star power from him, and if one didn't observe closely, they wouldn't even notice. It seems every innkeeper in each region is no ordinary person. Various thoughts raced through Wang Qi's mind as he could never have imagined that Shen Ye's star power was weak, yet the aura he naturally emitted was so potent that in just a few minutes. Wang Qi and his companion finished their meal and headed upstairs, leaving Shen Ye alone at the bar. Speaking of which, that white manager hadn't deceived him, even with the recent opening and this dreadful weather. There were indeed customers, and it was quite delightful. It seems that engaging in this endeavor indeed proves to be lucrative. In truth, Shen Ye harbors some understanding of the situation. If this venture were not profitable, how could the first curator, Yi Ning, afford such exorbitantly priced medicine? Moreover, it is perplexing why Shen Ye previously found it so easy to overlook supervisor by, but alas, his initial capital was insufficient, and his authority too limited to procure better goods. Chapter 17. Nationwide live streaming. The night stretched on interminably as Shen Ye stifled yawn after yawn, his biological clock still misaligned, making the reversal of day and night somewhat troublesome, after waiting for an eternity with not a single soul entering. And finding himself with nothing to occupy his time, Shen Ye picked up his phone to entertain himself. He opened an application called Nationwide Live Streaming. It had been ages since he last indulged in live broadcasts. Primarily due to his recent busyness, in preparation for the opening, Shen Ye had scarcely found a moment's respite. Allow me to elucidate. The world of live streaming here is by no means inferior to that of Shen Ye's previous realm. And perhaps it is even more frenzied and captivating. The content is not limited to mere entertainment. It encompasses a plethora of unimaginable spectacles, with no bounds to its explicitness. One cannot fathom the rationale behind the alliance government's apparent indifference towards this streaming platform, allowing it to evolve into something grotesquely expansive. Brothers, let's launch some little rockets. Tonight, I'll be live streaming as I capture female ghosts, exclaimed a portly man with a sparse mustache, clad in a vintage robe and wielding a wooden sword. Addressing the camera. Thanks to my big brother, Xiao Jia was 777 for the little rocket. Come on, brothers, let us take it up a notch. If someone sends me a big rocket, I'll tear a female ghost apart with my bare hands during the live stream. The mustached man, visibly exhilarated by the flood of gifts on screen, planted his wooden sword into the ground and rolled up his sleeves. Shen Ye, stifling another yawn, swiped to change the broadcaster. It wasn't that this individual was merely boasting. In this world, ghosts truly exist. Though they are more akin to earthbound spirits or phantasmal entities, these creatures are typically fierce and grotesque. Watching such content in the dead of night would surely invite nightmares. Suddenly, the screen flickered, revealing a young woman clad in revealing attire, adorned with heavy makeup, performing an alluring dance. The chat exploded with comments, "Darling, darling, I love you." How dull. Shen Ye sighed, scrolling through the broadcasts. In truth, he had once been fond of a particular streamer whose content was genuinely intriguing. This streamer led a team that often explored remote areas, unveiling the mysteries of ancient relics and shedding light on the enigma of this world. For a time, Shen Ye yearned to join them. But tragically, they had all perished, meticulously and gruesomely, had they merely fallen victim to monsters. One might say it was an occupational hazard. After all, one cannot traverse perilous paths without risking misfortune, yet the reality was far more sinister. They had encountered a malevolent organization and were ultimately slaughtered during a live stream. Numerous fans reported the incident, and by the time the Star Tower dispatched night watchers to the scene, only the ravaged corpses remained. Such occurrences are not rare. They frequently transpire. There are even some deranged individuals who live stream their criminal exploits. Unsurprisingly, most of them meet grim fates. There is a saying, "Those who court death shall find it." Thus, this world remains perilously dangerous on the surface. It appears orderly and harmonious, yet this is a fade ever since the discovery of a planet known as the Odd Star thousands of years ago, which yielded countless extraordinary stones. True harmony has been unattainable, even after the establishment of the alliance government, which devoted millennia to reclaiming these peculiar stones. The results have been far from satisfactory, and unrest has persisted for centuries. This is precisely why the Star Tower, a unique institution, was founded. Moreover, several years ago, a scandal erupted that shook the world. One of the 3 special reserve warehouses of the alliance government, designated for the storage of these extraordinary stones, was raided by numerous nefarious organizations. This resulted in a massive outflow of these stones, leading to even greater chaos and upheaval. It is essential to recognize that even a colossal entity like the alliance government can be struck down, hinting at the extraordinary nature of this world, teeming with formidable individuals and bizarre phenomena. In such a world, it is prudent to remain humble and cautious, though one may possess a golden finger. It is wise to tread carefully. At times, Shen Ye finds himself questioning whether, were he to follow the archetypal narratives of protagonists in novels, wreaking havoc or slapping faces at will, he would likely find himself hanging from a tree, desiccated, and perhaps even flayed and dissected to extract his golden finger. Maintaining a low profile is undoubtedly wise. When faced with challenges, one should only proceed when absolutely certain of success. Lacking confidence or possessing only a modicum of assurance is tantamount to courting disaster. After all, miracles do not easily manifest, and one must not be overconfident. Hence, until significant progress is achieved, the path of discretion and gradual development is the only way forward. While Shen Ye was idly scrolling, he suddenly stumbled upon a broadcaster whose popularity had skyrocketed. Momentarily taken aback, the entire public screen resembled a torrent of code, rendering the speaker's words indecipherable. What in the world? Which streamer is this popular? Where is he? Why is the screen shaking so violently? As the image stabilized somewhat, Shen Ye was met with scenes of panic-stricken individuals fleeing amidst shrieks. Blazing crimson beams rained down upon the fleeing crowd, accompanied by explosions and a gruesome display of carnage. As the camera panned back, it revealed towering, 8-meter-tall, carapace-like monsters with fearsome, razor-sharp teeth, relentlessly pursuing the terrified masses. These creatures opened their gaping maws, devouring one or two individuals whole. Editor, run. Look up at the sky. A message in golden text flooded the screen. The camera then adjusted upward, revealing a rain of grotesque, sticky-skinned lizard-like creatures cascading from the sky. Damn it! Suddenly, the screen jolted, switching to a third-person perspective. A nondescript face appeared before the camera. If Shen Ye wasn't mistaken, this must be the editor. With remarkable agility, the editor performed a backflip to evade the descending monster, sprinting away with a speed surpassing that of a rabbit. Quickly, the editor ducked into a shadowy corner of a building, peering out at the panicked citizens being relentlessly pursued by the monsters, exhaling deeply in relief. Editor, why aren't you saving anyone? Yes, go save someone. Messages flooded the chat. The editor wore a look of despair as he addressed his audience in a hushed tone. Brothers, I'm merely a scout. I lack combat capability. How can I save anyone? Those monsters would tear me apart in an instant. Besides, if this city of Taroka doesn't receive reinforcements soon, it will be doomed. The dimensional rift has escalated to a level 5 alert. And I've already witnessed over 7 types of alien creatures emerging. Why not move closer to the battlefield to scout? It would provide the Star Tower with more accurate intelligence, a user named Umbrella Mushroom suggested. All right, the editor gritted his teeth in response. What do you mean, all right? Just then, a shadow loomed over the editor, emitting a chilling, raspy voice. The editor turned to see a spider-like creature with a human face silently materializing behind him. Its glistening, sharp legs raised ominously. Came a terrified scream as the razor-sharp appendage descended with lethal intent. Swoosh! A green extraordinary stone on the editor's back radiated a blue halo, and he vanished from his original position, reappearing 3 meters away. Boom! The ground where he had stood was cleaved as easily as tofu. Chapter 18. Rescue, where do you think you're running? The spider-faced creature, having missed its strike, raised its head. Its green, bulbous eyes locking onto the editor, emitting a piercing shriek. IT promptly gave chase. Run. The screen was inundated with frantic comments. Even Shen Ye felt his heart race in response. Taroka City, located on the 3rd-tier star. Roma Star, an increasing number of varied monsters were emerging from the rift, akin to ravenous sharks plunging into a school of fish, tearing flesh and spilling blood, inciting further frenzy. The remaining guards within the city, armed with firearms, desperately shot at the advancing monsters. Yet, those creatures exhibited astonishing agility, leaping onto surrounding buildings to evade the onslaught. Even when struck by a few bullets, they merely sustained minor injuries, which were inconsequential given their tenacity. Before long, the monsters leaped with impressive force, tackling the guards to the ground and sinking their teeth into the exposed necks. After a moment, she slowly lifted her head to survey the surroundings. Where people were fleeing in panic, carelessly discarding their spoils in pursuit of novelty, a deafening explosion erupted from the tallest edifice at the heart of Taroka City, a towering structure of 100 stories. As countless shards of glass shattered and rained down upon the terrified populace below, with a crack, The very core of the skyscraper began to splinter. Another resounding blast echoed as a figure burst through the wall, followed closely by a grotesque bat-like creature, devoid of skin, its form a grotesque amalgamation of raw, crimson flesh. As the saying goes, when gods clash, mortals suffer. Ultimately, the immense building succumbed to the strain, snapping in half with a catastrophic groan. The colossal concrete and steel structure plummeted downwards. The desperate cries of the crowd resonated. The impact obliterated countless souls, splattering blood in a gruesome display. Meanwhile, on the outer ring of Taroka City, the civilians who had barely escaped were still reeling from their brush with death when suddenly a viscous liquid began to drip upon their faces. In terror, they looked up. In an instant, grotesque creatures resembling toads, with elongated tongues and gecko-like feet, descended from the walls of the buildings one by one. The fleeing residents were tackled, their desperate pleas for mercy echoing in the air. Help! No, please, soon. These cries morphed into piercing screams. Among the panicking crowd, a middle-aged woman clutched an 8-year-old girl with pigtails, her face streaked with tears. As she desperately ran forward, just then, a toad-like creature with an elongated tongue and a bony mask-like face landed in front of her. The expression on the woman's face shifted to one of utter despair and terror as the monster's eyes fixated on her. In an instant, it lashed out its tongue towards her, prompting the woman to hurl her daughter several meters away. The woman was ensnared by the tongue, dragged inexorably toward the creature's maw. "Mommy," the little girl cried, scrambling to her feet and rushing toward her mother. "Run!" the middle-aged woman shouted in desperation. Before she could finish her sentence, her entire body was engulfed by the creature's gaping mouth. With a sickening crunch, its sharp teeth severed her head from her body, which was then devoured with a sickening relish. The woman's severed head tumbled to the ground, rolling to rest before the little girl, staring blankly at her mother's head. The child's innocent face became a mask of shock, rendering her unable to even sob that moment. The long-tongued toad-like monster swallowed the remnants of its prey with a satisfying gulp, its gaze shifting towards the little girl. It approached her slowly, its gaping maw wide open. Suddenly, a figure flickered into view before the child, wielding a sword that cleaved downward with deadly precision. "Seeking death, are we? Who do you think you can feast upon?" The creature was effortlessly bisected in a single strike. The figure revealed itself to be a young night watcher clad in simple gray robes, adorned with an emblem of a crescent moon intertwined with a sword. Embedded in the back of his hand was a peculiar stone that emitted a faint, celestial glow. However, just as the night watcher dispatched the creature before him, the other monsters feasting nearby turned their attention towards him with feral hunger. They charged at him in a frenzy. Yet, rather than retreating in fear, the night watcher raised his sword to meet them head-on. With a sweeping strike, he felled one beast, only to swiftly dispatch another lunging from the right. Unfortunately, a third monster pounced from an unexpected angle. Damn it! The night watcher stumbled back, seizing the dazed girl by the collar of her dress and leaping back to evade. Yet, the long-tongued monsters showed no intention of relenting. They surged forward as if drawn by the scent of exquisite prey. The night watcher, with the girl in his left arm and sword in his right, found himself in a precarious position. Struggling to keep them at bay, one of the long-tongued beasts stealthily approached from the side, its claws sweeping menacingly. Not good. The night watcher instinctively raised his sword to block. The impact sent him and the girl flying. In the nick of time, he wrapped his arms around her and rolled across the ground a few times before regaining his footing, propping his sword against the ground to stabilize himself. However, the long-tongued monsters were closing in, and the situation grew increasingly dire. The night watcher raised his right hand, and the peculiar stone on his hand blazed to life as he slammed it against the ground. Sharp spikes erupted from the concrete, impaling 5 or 6 of the oncoming beasts. Unfortunately, the relentless horde of monsters surged forward once more. The night watcher's complexion paled slightly. He found himself unable to channel the power of the stone any longer. His stone was of inferior quality, and his strength was limited. Just then, a small, self-guided rocket whizzed through the air. With a resounding explosion, it obliterated two of the long-tongued creatures. A figure leapt down from a nearby building, landing behind the remaining monsters, wielding a white lightsaber, dispatching one beast after another. It was a young man clad in mechanical armor, who, after dispatching several creatures, rushed to the side of the Night Watcher. When did Zhou Lu become so useless? Just a handful of monsters have you in such disarray. I've been saying all along that your so-called techniques are utterly ineffective. Humph, and your scrap metal is any better? Ha, still stubborn are you? If I had known it would come to this, I would have let you get beaten until your mother wouldn't recognize you. Let us see who ends up in that state. As they fought off the encroaching monsters, their banter continued, rife with mutual disdain. This scene unfolded across various districts of the city as reinforcements from different civilizations arrived, mechanized warriors and night watchers alike. Exchanging jabs while begrudgingly cooperating in battle, Diane Truth. Even within the Star Tower, not all Night Watchers were solely practitioners of martial arts or wielders of peculiar stones. Some utilized high-tech weaponry, enhanced through genetic serums. Yet, they typically operated within their designated areas. To any observer, the dissonance between the two factions was unmistakable. Chapter 19, The Phantom Bone Beast. Even within the live stream that Shen Ye was currently viewing, fans were bickering amongst themselves. You cultivators are pathetic. It took you ages to slay just a few monsters. Oh please, as if those wielding iron clunkers are any better. Once you run out of ammunition, you'll have to resort to using swords, and you're still not as good as the Star Warriors. What did you say? The truth hurts, doesn't it? If you disagree, come and bite me. The entire chat erupted into chaos, completely oblivious to the fact that the editor was frantically fleeing for his life. The editor was on the brink of collapse, having stumbled upon a fourth-tier arachnid-faced monster that was relentlessly pursuing him. Meanwhile, the fans continued to argue, oblivious to the imminent danger. Shen Ye, observing the editor's desperate flight, was taken aback. This guy was surprisingly capable, at least a 3-star reconnaissance Star Warrior. Moreover, the peculiar stone he possessed was quite precious, a rare blue-quality stone from the Space Displacement series. Allowing for short-range teleportation, his escape skills were top-notch. Otherwise, he would have been minced into paste. Long AS for the quarrelsome fans. Shen Ye was no stranger to their antics. The long-standing tension between the technological and martial civilizations had been brewing for ages, with neither side able to tolerate the other. In reality, the technological civilization was formidable, particularly with its advanced weaponry, mechs, and warships that seemed almost overpowered. Boasting both incredible might and striking aesthetics, Shen Ye felt a pang of envy. After all, it is said that mechs are the romance of a man, and he longed to experience their allure firsthand. However, it was an impractical desire. He hailed from the Shen family, a quintessentially martial clan. Anyone within the family who expressed an interest in piloting mechs would immediately face the collective ire of their kin. From a young age, they were indoctrinated with the belief that technology was merely a tool to assist in life, incapable of serving any other purpose. In truth, if certain technological items were not so convenient and irreplaceable like mobile phones and spaceships, his family would have long forbidden their use for the Four Seasons planet. Both civilizations had a presence there. However, to preserve the planet's pristine natural environment, technological weapons and personnel were subject to restrictions, and martial Star Warriors were predominantly employed to handle matters. Nevertheless, even with reinforcements from the Star Tower arriving, the situation in the city remained grim. The invading monsters showed no signs of retreat, only a frenzied desire to attack, driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh. Hey, stop arguing, what is that? At that moment, the top commenter, proclaiming himself the best, posted a message that caught everyone's attention. The once raucous chat fell silent as they turned to look. Unbeknownst to them, the editor had managed to shake off the arachnid-faced monster. Having ascended a vintage spire, I gazed into the distance. Above the heart of Taroka City, the pristine sky suddenly fissured, revealing a rift that stretched towards the heavens. From within this chasm emerged a colossal skeletal hand. pale as death itself, gripping the edges of the rupture with an iron grip, forcibly widening the opening. A skull adorned with a pallid, bony mask appeared, its hollow eyes seemingly poised to devour all living beings. Good heavens, I could not be mistaken. That was a level 6 void bone beast. This was dire trouble. The editor must flee. Run. Why is the foolish editor still dawdling there? At that moment, the head of the void bone beast, having emerged first, opened its maw. Ziz. A beam of pale light swept across, causing rows of buildings in Taroka City to explode, reminiscent of doomsday. Furthermore, that sweeping beam drew ever closer to the editor, without hesitation. The editor let go and plummeted from the spire. The entire scene shook violently. Just then, in the distant sky, several small spacecraft approached rapidly, lowering their altitude and opening their hatches mid-air. 5 high-ranking night watchers, clad in various attires, emerged. The most striking among them was a woman in glasses, possessing a figure that was the epitome of allure. Her sensual lips moved slightly. It seemed fortune had not smiled upon us, encountering such a formidable foe. But so what? Let us unite and vanquish it. A behemoth of a man, clad in a white training suit and brimming with explosive muscle, declared coldly, his fists clad in iron. Let us not be overconfident. Falling into the gutter is no trivial matter. It would be utterly humiliating to become a laughingstock for those imbeciles wielding iron lumps. The speaker was a small elderly man, dressed in a black suit, white shirt, and a black bow tie, resembling a gentlemanly steward, though his right hand bore a finely crafted sword. I believe we ought not to dwell on such matters. Confronting enemies beyond our rank, while exhilarating, is also perilous. Should we not first consider whether we can triumph? A youthful child, appearing no older than 11 or 12, spoke, a lollipop clutched between his teeth. It is time. We must act. If we delay any further, Taroka City will be razed, and we shall bear the consequences. The final member, a sun-kissed, handsome man, smiled as he spoke. I shall lead the charge. The man in the white training suit leaped down first. We follow suit. The alluring woman's lips curled into a slight smile before she too jumped. The other 3, without a moment's hesitation, followed suit. The 5 of them spread out upon landing, rushing towards the struggling void bone beast from different angles. The man in the white training suit led the charge, opting for a direct confrontation. The void bone beast quickly turned, raising its massive claw to strike. The man leapt with incredible speed, evading the attack, and landed atop its bony claw, sprinting along its arm towards its head. A purple gemstone embedded in its chest emitted a brilliant glow. The man's arm transformed rapidly into a hue of dark steel, and soon he reached the creature's shoulder, leaping again to raise his hardened fist. Cracking fist, the explosive power of his strike smashed into the void bone beast's white-masked face. The impact left a deep indentation in its bony visage. The void bone beast roared in fury, opening its gaping maw and turning to bite down on the descending man. Vines of thorns, accompanied by the alluring woman's voice, the earth cracked open, and thorny vines, several meters wide, surged forth, entwining the beast's neck and stifling its assault. That moment, the gentlemanly old man circled to its side, springing into the air on the tips of his toes, raising his delicate sword. 3,000 gale cuts. Caca. A flurry of sharp sword energy struck the back of the void bone beast's skull, carving ghastly gashes. The beast's hollow eyes suddenly ignited with white flames, emitting a bone-chilling roar, its entire body shuddering. This is bad. The alluring woman gasped in alarmed caw. A powerful aura radiated from its form, severing the vines that bound it. P.S. Gratitude for the generous rewards from the delivery of 150,000. Ning Xia's 100,000. Bingshan Mushue's 100,000. Yu Lao Guai's 100,000. And Shui Zhongsha Tang's 100,000. Immense thanks. P.S. I owe 35 chapters for the previous book and 55 chapters for this one, totaling 90 chapters, which will be updated after the release. Chapter 20. Clearing the field, the man in close quarters and the gentlemanly old man were directly flung away. That moment, the child waved his hand. The ground became exceedingly soft, akin to a waterbed. Extending two muddy hands to catch the toad, the void-bone beast opened its mouth, gathering power. The instant of release, a figure, swift as a shadow, vanished from sight and appeared beneath its jaw, delivering a fierce kick to its chins as the emitted pale beam veered off course, slicing through the distant skyline. Shen Ye, observing through the editor's third-party perspective, felt his blood surge with excitement at this breathtaking battle. Good heavens, a group of 4- and 5-star experts challenging a level 6 monster. The coordination is simply unparalleled. Among them, the most formidable fighters were undoubtedly the gentlemanly old man, the handsome youth, and the bare-handed giant. They were likely of 5-star caliber. Otherwise, they would not dare to confront the beast head-on, while the assisting child and alluring woman appeared to be of high 4-star rank. As the battle intensified, the 5 Night Watchers unleashed a flurry of relentless attacks on the void-bone beast, skillfully dodging its strikes, akin to a boss fight. Alas, their efforts bore little fruit, despite their ferocity. They inflicted minimal substantive damage upon the creature, only serving to enrage it further. The void-bone beast raised its sharp bony claws and slammed them down towards the ground. Dodge. The leading youth sensed the impending danger. Shouting sharply, the 5 retreated rapidly. Countless bone spikes erupted from the earth, piercing through innumerable fleeing souls as buildings collapsed in droves. Within a 3-kilometer radius of the void-bone beast, the area was reduced to ruins. The hardened giant emerged from the debris, snapping a bone spike that had impaled his arm, his expression grim. This was disastrous. They had set out to save lives, yet now the casualties were even greater. The remaining 4 companions also struggled to their feet, nearly scorched. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the void-bone beast locked onto them, its immense jaws agape. Whoosh, a black missile sped towards them, piercing directly into its mouth. Boom, a massive explosion ensued. Immediately, a towering mech, over 30 meters tall and gleaming with a deep blue sheen, adorned with 2 pairs of diamond-shaped auxiliary wings and wielding a plasma blade, charged forth. A single strike landed upon the beast. Sparks flew. Concurrently, elite warriors clad in powered armor, armed with an array of mechanical weaponry, descended. Upon landing, they unleashed a barrage of gunfire upon the void-bone beast. Boom! Various rockets, missiles, and penetrating rounds detonated against the skeletal creature. Oh, Mr. Shen Ye, how did you end up in such a state? I told you this approach would not suffice. We must take over the cleanup. One of the descending figures, clad in powered armor, taunted. The man in the white training suit, Shen Ye, was instantly incensed. Cain, we have not yet reached the point where we require your assistance. Do you truly believe your scrap metal is of any use? Of course, it is. Look at how we have immediately suppressed the enemy, unlike your petty skirmishes, which have left a mess without resolution. What did you say? Shen Ye was also furious. Mr. Cain, are you mocking us? The alluring woman retorted. Why, Miss Zhang, I am not targeting you, but rather all practitioners. Only technology reigns supreme, Cain proclaimed arrogantly. Humph. Even the typically composed young man displayed signs of anger. Boom! Suddenly, a tremendous crashing sound reverberated. Shen Ye and Cain were equally startled, looking up in surprise. They beheld the leading mech being swatted away, crashing through 3 large buildings. The void-bone beast raised its head, emitting a terrifying roar. This is bad. Shen Ye and the others felt a chill run down their spines, and there was no time for further conflict. Both factions charged forward. This moment, the editor, with a trembling voice, began to narrate. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the Night Watchers and their allies are exerting their utmost to slay the void-bone beast. However, it appears the results are far from satisfactory. What was it called? Yes, let me clarify. A flurry of messages began to flood the screen. MY Bounty reconnaissance mission is complete. I must take my leave. Goodbye. Having said that, the editor took off towards the city's outskirts. Hey, editor, don't be so spineless. Don't run away. Indeed, we're in the midst of an exhilarating spectacle. Don't run away. We can't see the battlefield clearly. In an instant, the live broadcast room erupted in chaos. Shen Ye wore a bewildered expression, astonished by the decisiveness of this individual, who fled without a moment's hesitation. As the battlefield receded further into the distance, it became increasingly indistinct. "You coward! Don't run," some fans shouted. While others retorted, "Only a fool would stay put." Shen Ye sighed, realizing there was nothing left to observe. It was only natural, considering the earlier rampage of that monster, which had nearly claimed the broadcaster's life. Fortunately, his agility allowed him to evade disaster, akin to dancing before the Grim Reaper. Amidst the ongoing arguments, a pale beam of light swept across the top of the broadcaster's head. Boom! The surrounding structures erupted in a cataclysmic explosion. Debris, concrete, stone, and glass, was sent flying. The broadcaster swiftly dodged, and for a moment, the live broadcast room fell silent. What was happening? Even from such a distance, they were still affected. That moment, the broadcaster turned, adjusting the live feed to reveal the central area. There, the sixth-tier void bone beast had completely lost control, wreaking havoc in a frenzy. Moreover, the enforcers attempting to subdue it began to retreat. Just then, countless missiles rained down from the sky, striking the creature like a storm. A colossal interstellar battleship, stretching for miles, pierced through the clouds, revealing itself. Enormous cannons descended, unleashing a dazzling beam of light. Boom! A tremendous shockwave radiated outward, disintegrating everything in its path. Even the broadcaster was flung away. Shen Ye rubbed his forehead, clearly aware that the support operation had failed. The Allied government forces, compelled by necessity, resorted to heavy weaponry. The consequences of this action were evident. Toroka City was doomed. The broadcaster had displayed remarkable foresight, likely sensing trouble and escaping decisively. In the hall of the glorious Council of the Star Creation, beneath resplendent lights, numerous counselors clad in various luxurious garments engaged in a fierce argument. Each was flushed with indignation, creating an atmosphere of utter chaos, reminiscent of a bustling marketplace. At the forefront, seated at the council dais, an affable and composed old man with white hair observed the bickering counselors with murky eyes. Showing no inclination to intervene, he had grown accustomed to this. Every time the full council convened, tranquility was a rarity. I ask you, what use is your cultivation of these techniques, after all this time? UV scarcely produced a handful of experts, and one misstep leads to utter ruin. Loss of both lives and resources. Your high-tech weaponry is far superior, thundered a representative from the tech nation. Tirtansky, those clunky machines of yours, are you not aware of their exorbitant costs and frequent malfunctions? Retorted a counselor from the Chiyu nation without hesitation. Better that than you unreliable lot, who are akin to performing monkey tricks. How dare you imply we are unreliable? Who, I ask, is truly the one playing the fool? We practitioners emphasize gradual progress, enhancing not just our combat prowess, but also extending our lifespans. We possess gene-enhancing potions that similarly fortify the body and prolong life. Indeed, your half-baked potions come with dire side effects. How many have consumed them only to become mere shadows of their former selves? What did you say? Our enhanced individuals, clad in battle armor, are no less formidable than yours. Just wait until one day your precious artifacts suddenly fail, then we shall see what you rely upon. How conveniently you speak, as if we lack terrestrial weapons. Fine, I have just received some feedback. Allow me to share it with you. The interstellar battleship, the gigantic bee, dispatched to the third-tier star, Roma, in Toroka City, made an unauthorized landing and indiscriminately used its main cannon to obliterate the invading monsters, resulting in over half of Toroka City being reduced to ruins. The casualty count remains uncalculated. Behold the fruits of your labor. That was done out of necessity. If such necessity arises repeatedly, I fear that half of you present may not be here next year. What did you say? I speak nothing but the truth. Do you wish to fight? I fear you not. At that moment, a counselor from the Qiyun nation began to petrify, his form swelling into that of a colossal stone giant. The Tirtansky representative, unwilling to be outdone, was enveloped by countless metallic particles that coalesced into armor. As the two were on the verge of conflict, a hoarse yet authoritative voice rang out, "Cease this at once." The council chair, unable to witness the escalating discord any longer, intervened. Instantly, the two senior councillors halted their impending clash, and the tumultuous council chamber fell silent. The chair regarded the two instigators with cold disdain. "If you are so fond of fighting, I shall arrange a life-and-death arena for you to settle your differences. Or perhaps you would prefer to unleash your troops for a grand display? I could designate a neutral zone for your battlefield. How does that sound? Or, as the saying goes, those who boast the loudest in victory may find themselves the most humiliated in defeat." A cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of the Tirtansky and Qiyun representatives. The chair was not surprised by the quarrel. It was merely a clash of civilizations, with each side convinced of the righteousness of their path. The Tech Nation looked down upon the Cultivation Nation, while the Cultivation Nation scorned the Tech Nation. This conflict had persisted for millennia, and it was only due to the establishment of the alliance government that open warfare had been averted. Despite their seemingly mindless bickering, each counselor was quite astute, keenly probing one another's weaknesses to elevate their own standing, all for the sake of the triennial military budget allocations. Each sought to secure a greater share. The chair understood well the advantages held by the Tech Nation, particularly in terms of mass destruction and space warfare, where they possessed an unmatched edge. However, in terrestrial combat and executing intricate missions, the Star Warriors held a significant advantage. Furthermore, those who had reached the pinnacle of cultivation were akin to living, breathing superweapons. Moreover, most of the void races that had successfully breached through primarily descended upon planets. Only a select few monstrous races could navigate the stars freely, relying on various mediums for their celestial migrations, such as nests and alien vessels. These creatures, upon landing on planets, could not simply obliterate everything with heavy weapons. As demonstrated by the aforementioned Taroka City incident, the chair's perspective was straightforward. Discord would yield catastrophic consequences, while cooperation and complementarity would foster enduring mutual benefit. The reason the chair allowed the squabbling to persist, leading to an intensification of the conflict between the Qiyun and Tirtansky representatives, was to serve as an example to quell future disputes, especially since these two were emblematic of their respective factions. Yet, the true power players remained in the background, observing the spectacle. "It's merely a routine exchange of ideas," they insisted. Indeed, the two replied, wiping the sweat from their brows. I have repeatedly reminded you, we are all comrades here. We must respect one another's civilizations. Are we not aware of our current predicament? Were it not for the protection of the galactic array, we would have long since become a battlefield of death. Do you not possess a shred of crisis awareness? Yes, you speak wisely, esteemed chair. The two wiped their foreheads once more. Seeing that the situation had calmed, the chair ceased reprimanding the two and transitioned to the formal agenda. As for the military budget allocation from the alliance government this time, it is detailed in the documents provided. You may review your respective allocations. This time, we shall not disclose the specifics, with the chair's words concluded. A procession of secretaries entered, placing reports on the desks of the corresponding councillors. Each councillor opened their report, exhaling a sigh of relief, with no one rising to question or express dissatisfaction, indicating general acceptance. After a considerable pause, the chair spoke hoarsely. With no objections, the military budget allocation stands confirmed. The esteemed President of the Parliament is exceptionally wise. There are no issues. Everything is splendid and fair, remarked the Assembly members in unison. The President raised a hand to signal for silence, and soon the chamber fell into a hushed stillness. Having addressed the matter of military expenditure, shall we now turn our attention to the discussion of the joint operational plan? Upon hearing the President's words, a wave of awkwardness washed over the attendees. The so-called Joint Operational Plan refers to the collaborative strategy involving technological warriors and stellar combatants, a key initiative that the president ardently supports. The reinforcements from Taroka City are a direct outcome of this collaborative effort, and the results are well known to all present. The coordination was utterly chaotic, despite the unexpected emergence of a sixth-tier void beast. Ultimately, the conclusion was disheartening. If we were to assign a score, it would undoubtedly be a resounding 0. The Joint Operational Plan holds great promise, and those below are striving diligently. Indeed, this plan is commendable. Fear not, esteemed President. It will not be long before our two factions can work together seamlessly. At this moment, representatives from the two distinct civilizations spoke as if they were dear brothers, fabricating words with wide-eyed sincerity, creating an atmosphere of harmony.